we're back. Welcome back to another video by Pyrrhic Victoria. I'm Pyrrhic.
And I'm Victoria.
And we are here on camera again after a shocking and prolonged absence.
Prolonged by our standards. We've been putting out videos every week for the past couple months now. And this is the first time you guys have gone two weeks without a video from us. 2 weeks without a Lore Olympus roast.
Yeah.
For which we're long overdue.
Yeah, just have it in the smokehouse out back.
Yeah, it's extra marinated now.
Percolating. We got it on a rotating.
Yeah, it's in a smoker. It's been in a smoker for 2 weeks.
It's like in The Simpsons. There's Homer Simpson inside his oven basting in juices like some sick sexual ritual. Right. So
I'm pretty sure that's Homer Simpson in the oven, rotating slowly. His body temperature has risen to over 400 degrees. He's literally stewing in his own juices.
But yeah, you know, we've been gone for 10 days now, 10 business days.
10 business days, which is 2 weeks.
Yeah, so 2 weeks. And the video that we were planning on putting out prior to our absence was a video about Webtoon and our experience with Webtoon.
This video.
Yes, this video that we are reshooting the introduction for because obviously we have a lot more to say about Webtoon
Things
now.
have changed.
Yeah, there's no going back,
yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, we just wanted to, after that experience, because Webtoon is the one, it was on behalf of Webtoon that our channel got copyright stricken 21 times, right?
It was
20
like 20 times.
20 times. That was because of Webtoon. And initially, honestly, in the first edit of this video, we were being pretty nice about Webtoon.
I edited this video. It was really fair.
Yeah.
Editing it again, like going through again after being struck, I was like, this is too nice. I need to go in here and like, we need to go in here and reshoot the opening and like be 100%, we need to goblin mode this video basically.
Yeah.
It was way too nice. I think we were focusing more on our experience and going like, yeah, our personal experience. And then we kind of talked about the industry trends and like Webtoon strategy, but we weren't, I mean, I guess we kind of buried the lead. We were like, we were just giving you the facts and letting you guys come to your own conclusions, being really fair in my opinion. But I think we can like go ahead and like get all of that out of the way with this new thesis statement, which is that if you're trying to make a Webtoon in 2023 and you want to make money off of it, like you want to do it as a job, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I don't know to what extent that Webtoon is feasible as a path for a creator anymore.
They've pretty much self-sabotaged themselves, if you're asking me.
Yeah.
Like, their business plan is so stupid. Mm-hmm. And, like, again, you know, no holds barred, I'm gonna call it as I see it. They are stupid for signing up more series than they can manage effectively and more series than they can edit and provide advertising to and support to. If their idea, because, you know, back in the day when we first got on Webtoon in June, or when we were first poking around in 2022, June or spring 2022. It was like
January 2022.
Yeah, January.
When we first started looking into it.
They had the audacity for the tagline of their website to be, "We're the story before the streaming." Right? Because they
that's all, they put all their eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
The streaming basket. And
yeah.
like, you can look at the stock price of all the streaming companies now, and it's like, you know,
all
like
the
they're
layoffs,
all failing.
The cancellations.
Yeah, they're all
shows.
failing. They're not adapting because content is expensive.
Yeah.
For Netflix to buy the IP rights to a series and then produce it, that's millions of dollars down the drain.
Yeah.
Netflix is billions of dollars in the hole.
Yeah.
They're still not profitable. You know, all of these streaming services are operating at a loss. And then even before that's Webtoon, that was Webtoon's golden goose for North America. Even before that, like, even beyond streaming, they've gotten themselves to the point where they've acquired so many series and they have to pay, you know, 40, 50K for each series pre-production before it's even released.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're making 50K on all these series. Do you think they're making 50K on Nexus Point?
Out of all the series to name drop like that for the sickest, like, most efficient
mic drop.
You know, like the most brutal
I don't
way
even think they're making 50K off of like Zatanna.
No, the DC Comics ones.
The DC Comics ones. What was the other one?
It was Wayne Family Adventures, Zatanna, Vixen.
I don't think they're making 50K off Vixen. I think they're losing money on the majority of these series, and then their cash cows, Lore Olympus, Let's Play, True Beauty, they're all ending, or they're like going down like the Titanic. Every time you look at Lore Olympus on a weekly basis, the views go down, the likes go down. She's making way less money on FastPass. That's why she's like frantically trying to Every week she has a different format for her Fast Pass preview. Maybe this is the one that'll get more people to read Lore Olympus.
Yeah.
No, because it sucks.
So we're filming this video on a Saturday. We were aiming to get it out on Monday, and that's the Monday right before February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2023.
Yeah.
Right? So how about you, you did some digging. You saw, you have this theory about...
I don't have a theory, it's fact.
It's true.
It's true.
100% true.
It's 100% true. Lore Olympus is so desperate for that Fast Pass coin that Rachel has basically scheduled the proposal of Hades to Persephone and then the marriage in the Fast Pass version to come out this Saturday, the weekend before Valentine's Day.
Holy smokes.
That's how desperate she is for money. And it's like, again, like you look at even Canvas. I was like taking a browse on Canvas a year ago. Some of the popular Canvas webtoons that we were looking at with like Envy.
Yeah.
They were getting hundreds of comments per chapter. Now the latest chapters have like 20, 30 comments. It's like a friggin' ghost town, bro.
Yeah.
I think in 2023, if you want to be a webtoon creator full-time, my only advice for you is build an audience outside of Webtoon. If you post on Webtoon, they're going to take all your money. They didn't want to pay us. Like, up front, completely honest, we hit the threshold for payment and they were making up excuses not to pay us.
Yeah.
The ad revenue in general is peanuts. So they're like basically screwing you over on like $50.
Yeah.
They were screwing you out of $50.
Yes, like, okay.
It was like, okay, freaking Mr. Park,
Yeah.
you're explaining to us U.S. copyright law, but you don't want to give us $50. All that for a lousy $50. And I actually had a revelation off camera that the reason they were delaying paying you the ad share is because they were phasing out ad share and going to the tipping system. So they were like, just hold her off until we move to the tipping system, and then we won't have to pay you ad revenue anyway.
That was why it was a once-a-day communication thing.
Yeah, it was a stall tactic.
It was completely stalling.
It's completely stalling, and it's really funny because they must be desperate for money if they're like stalling on paying somebody $50 on Canvas.
Could you imagine?
On Canvas!
Could you imagine if you're like, you go to like, I don't know, like $50, that's like a week's worth of groceries. You go to the checkout line, you go, no, I'm good for it, $50, and you're trying to like bargain with the cashier.
Webtoon,
but you're like Jeff Bezos.
Dude,
Webtoon
like, at this point is picking up pennies in the parking lot. That's how bad they are. That's how much money they're losing.
They crank their thermostat all the way down to like 40 degrees in the winter to save on heating costs.
They're like charging $4 at the soda machine at the Webtoons headquarters.
Yeah, the Webtoons employees have to pay like $3,000 for parking passes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
You gotta put a coin into the toilet every time you want to flush it.
No, I mean I've seen some of the financials for Webtoon.
Yeah.
And I think they're really tight-lipped about their financials when it comes to North America.
Yeah.
But they always have some malarkey about how we're getting closer to profitability in North America. That's like the line for every Silicon Valley tech startup, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to get that tech money. But I think I saw some figures for North America that put the deficit, and this is like old because they don't do this every year because they're very tight-lipped about their profitability, as they should be because they're in the hole. They were in the hole by about like $4 million.
Wow.
And their revenue is only like 18 million or something, but they're paying 24 million. You know, that was the cost. And this is old data too.
Right.
And you know that post-pandemic, their revenue has gone down further, but their costs have gone up because they acquired so many series during the pandemic that they're still just putting out as a trickle.
They are.
You know,
yeah,
they're trickling them out. And so they're making less revenue, and then they're paying even more costs. So that gap of 4 or 5 million has gotten even bigger.
Yeah.
So that's the true reason. That's the true picture of Webtoons behind the scenes. And that's why if you post on Webtoons, they don't pay ad revenue share anymore. And then the tipping system, they're going to take 50% of your tips, which is like, why would you even post there? If you're planning on making money, if you're planning on doing this full time as your full time job, like if you're just doing it as a hobby, fine. If you're doing it as a full time job, they're taking 50% of everything you earn. And there's no viewership anymore. It's not YouTube. It's not like YouTube where you post something, you know, it takes us 2 hours to film, maybe 3-4 hours to edit. And then you just post it and it's like, oh, it's just a hobby between two people. We make a couple $100 a month. It's nothing like that. It's a full-time job. They're taking 50% of your earnings on a full-time job.
No, webcomics are infinitely harder.
The viewership is tanking, so there's no value proposition as a creator. There's no reason for me to put my stuff on Webtoon.
Not at all. In fact, but somebody did reach out and ask me, like, why did you stop posting your comic?
Yeah.
If you, by all intents and purposes, you pretty much made it. You got noticed by Webtoon, promoted a handful of times, a big subscriber base, etc. So what made you want to stop posting?
They weren't gonna freaking pay us, bro.
It's not just the lack of payment, but it's the fact that Webtoon is so transparently, like, they don't have any metrics for you.
No.
They don't tell you any insights,
it's the opposite
creator
of transparent.
insights. Yeah.
It's the opposite of transparency.
They just keep waving the carrot in front of you, like, oh, you got another couple thousand subscribers because we promoted you. Oh, maybe next time you'll get an offer from Webtoon.
It's like the claw machine.
Yeah, it's literally the claw machine, and it's like, it's torture.
Every time you put in a couple quarters, that's 80 hours a week that you spend on your Webtoon.
It's crazy because you see some Webtoon originals before they became originals, and when they were on Canvas, and the creator was able to put them out at their own pace, and the art is better, the dialogue is better, the characterization is better, but then once you get into the hustle mindset, and it's like, I gotta be doing this, 4 chapters a month, otherwise I'm not getting paid, I gotta have my money to make my rent, I've got to do my insurance, because Webtoon doesn't do insurance for you, right?
No,
like,
they don't give you any benefits.
Yeah, so you got to do all that, plus you got to pay your assistants and everything like that. The quality just goes down the toilet. And another thing that we were talking about is how they have these ridiculous arbitrary standards for how many panels should be in a chapter.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
Well, the biggest thing for me that like really ticked me off and soured our experience with Webtoon is that by all rights, especially with Butterfly Dream, because they promoted it several times, they were basically telling us we were on the right track.
Yeah. And
you were producing that every week, and you were producing Webtoon original length chapters.
Yeah.
So it's like, how much more do you have to do? And you do that for like 3 months. Like, how much more do you have to do before you get picked up? There's nothing. There's no communication, no standards, no guide. It's not like YouTube where they're transparent. Like, you do this and you'll get paid.
Yeah, and they tell you the metrics for your video, how long people are watching it, how many people tuned into this video, what point they started to drop off, how your video is performing relative to other videos.
With YouTube, once you hit the threshold for payment, that's it. You're a YouTube creator, and you're not on the payroll. There's no contract. You're not forced to make videos. You can make videos at your own pace, but you're making good money. Like, if our channel hit like 20,000 subscribers, like 10 times what we have right now, we'd be making like legitimately good money. Like a couple $1,000s a month. You will never hit that amount of money off of Webtoon on Canvas or through ad share.
And even if you do hit that amount of money as a Webtoon original, it's not worth it, in my opinion.
It's nothing, like I'm saying, it's nothing like YouTube, because at YouTube, if you're a YouTube partner, you can make videos at your own pace. They're not forcing you to make one video a week, and it's not a 90-hour-a-week job. That's what I'm saying. The biggest difference between Webtoon and YouTube, or any, like, staying as an independent producer, is that Webtoon owns you. Once you sign up with them, they own your soul. They still won't give you metrics.
No.
They still don't tell you how much money you're making in FastPass, and they hide the ball from you completely, and then they're also giving you the weekly deadline. There's nothing like that on YouTube. My honest opinion is, if you want to make money off of Webtoon, you want to do it professionally, put it on Webtoon, never sign the original contract. Do not become a Webtoon original creator. You don't want to be on that weekly monkey grind.
No.
And try to make your money off of Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon
and YouTube, do something else that makes you a decent revenue. Post your comics on YouTube and like advertise them on Webtoon.
Yeah.
But the other thing I'll say about Webtoon is that so not only do Webtoon not want to pay you as an original creator, I feel like the audience for Webtoon as well, even if you're trying to do Patreon stuff, the only stuff that consistently gets money on Patreon, and we mentioned this in the video, is NSFW stuff.
Yeah.
And it just seems like if you're trying to write a story that's not like leaning into like the sleaze factor or lowest common denominator, people just don't want to pay for it. I feel like the audience on Webtoon is very entitled. They want really long chapters every week that's full color, and they want like, high quality art, high quality story. They're not willing to pay for either.
No.
And if you consider the fact that ad revenue is nothing, it's like you want me to work 100 hours a week for free.
Exactly.
Like pay me $1 per issue. They're not going to do that.
No.
If you want to do Webtoon as a full-time job, you pretty much have to go NSFW, advertise it on Webtoon, but put the rest behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Or if you want to do something that's like more story-based and like more, I guess, not having to do lowest common denominator to make money, just take the same option that we're taking, which is like giving up on Webtoon and trying to get our own names out there through other means, other avenues of social media, and try to advertise not just like your art skills, because I've noticed that people don't necessarily, if you're a good artist, that's not enough to get people to read your comics.
Yeah.
You have to do like ideas, like be more idea based or personality based, so people will read what you have to say because they like your takes on stuff. That's what we're doing with YouTube. That's why we started reviewing Lore Olympus in the first place, because we had a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
And we wanted to show that we know what we're talking about when it comes to Webtoons. And because of that, I think there's a good portion of you who would read a webtoon that we put out.
Yeah.
For example, I started kicking around Lore Olympus redraw stuff on Reddit during the hiatus, and a lot of people are interested because we have a long track record of videos where we just talk about how to make it better.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to build an audience, you have to kind of play off of your strengths as a writer in conjunction with your art, and that's the avenue that people used to do on Tumblr.
Yeah.
They used to do like headcanon stuff, rewrite stuff, fan fiction, and then combine that with fan art, and then people would be like, oh, I'd read your comic.
Exactly. And so, again, for YouTube, I mean, you don't have to go out and do 3-hour, like, feature film length videos like we
Bashing
are, obviously.
stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. A lot of people, they do the time-lapse drawings. Those are very good. But the thing that's really helpful, and the thing that we do in our videos, too, is we provide advice for people who are looking to do their own comics, their own stories. If you're good at something, right? Like, we seem to excel at, like, structure and organization and providing, like, a template for how to move forward. We're also very trope savvy, and we're critical to the point that some people may think that we're like overcritical, but we criticize from the perspective of people who are telling a story and looking at the audience expectations versus the intentions of the writer.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what we're good at, and so that's what we provide in terms of our commentary. I think every single artist out there has something that they're good at, something that's unique to them, right? And so if that's things with like lighting and color or character expression or dialogue or script writing, you can make a video about that. And people will watch those videos because there's tons of people out there who want to create something, they just don't know how to, right? They need a baseboard to a jumping off point, right? And so you make those videos, you build an audience, and then you say, hey, by the way, guys, if you like the way that I do these tips about drawing or about storytelling, you can check out my story and see how I would have done it based on the information that I'm giving you.
Well, I think it's really interesting if they use, like, if you're going to market your comic that way, I think it would be really helpful to use your comic as an example. Like, if you're talking about not just lighting and art, but, like, how to set a mood and create ambiance through your drawings, I would use your webcomic as an example and be like, yeah, in this scene where Minthy goes to confront Hades, I have, like, a machine noise in the background and red strobe lights, you know?
Right.
And that conveys this impression. And if you watch, like, Satoshi Kon, that's a reference to that. Like, just showing that you know what you're talking about when it comes to writing and showing that you have the capabilities to pull off creating your own webtoon, I think that's key because I think, apart from audience entitlement, another huge problem with webtoons and why it's so difficult to make successful webtoons now and gain an audience is that there's so much competition.
Yeah, and the competition is like, when it comes to the person who's just looking at something to read quickly, because that's what webtoons are at the end of the day, a lot of times they're going to look for something that's more polished and more lowest common denominator versus something
that they
that
don't
takes
have to
a while
think about.
get good,
Yeah.
Right?
People who are reading webtoons are just looking to read something while they're waiting for the bus or while they're on the toilet.
Exactly, you know, and so
play up on stuff that's already popular or do fan art or fan comics.
Yeah.
Build an audience that way. Use social media, talk about media, build an audience that way because people like your ideas. Have a unique art style. I think having an art style that looks like everything else. Honestly, I think that's why Lore Olympus took off.
Yeah.
Because it has a very unique art style, and if you put Lore Olympus next to like all the other webtoons at the time, they all the Korean webtoons have a very specific look.
Yeah.
Lore Olympus definitely stands out. So have a unique art style that's really attractive and like commercially appealing. It can't just be unique and look like, I don't know, like a 90s Nickelodeon cartoon because nobody wants to see that anymore.
Nexus Point.
Yeah, Nexus Point.
Right.
And then if possible, like splatter it all over the internet. I think TikTok is really good. The algorithm is really good for making small creators go viral fast.
Yeah, TikTok and Reddit to an extent.
Yeah, Reddit to an extent. Just
Upvotes,
build an audience like as much as you can and then try to get those people to read your webcomic.
Yeah.
And in terms of hosting, we're using our website, which we launched during the hiatus.
Yeah.
If we were to create a comic, actually I'm creating a redraw of Lore Olympus. It's going to go on the website. There's plugins that you can use on WordPress, but the downside to that is you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I think the yearly subscription cost for the WordPress Pro, which is the only way you can use that plugin for Webtoon, that's like $300 a year.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're in the whole $300 if you want to go with a website.
Yeah, if you can get that $300 on Patreon or something, or
we
by
make
selling brush
$300
packs.
with YouTube in a month, so
Yeah,
it works out
pays
for us.
itself, yeah.
But if you're like, I honestly think YouTube and TikTok are probably the best ways.
Yeah.
YouTube, if you're camera shy, just draw your comic, do a time lapse of your art, or put your comic up as an animatic with like some music, like do the Lightlark trailer. Give your comic the Lightlark treatment and create a trailer for it.
Yeah.
But instead of crappy stock images, you use like real art.
You mean you don't like that sick beat she used? The super generic.
It was like the Terminator theme.
It was not the Terminator theme.
It was like the Terminator theme, but with like an acoustic guitar.
No, it sounded like some kind of Imagine Dragons song. Just garbage, and so don't
Insert
do that.
the Lightlark trailer.
Yeah, put it in. Just put the damn thing in. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's really it. We didn't again, we refilmed this introduction to be meaner, but we didn't really slander Webtoon a lot.
Webtoon sucks.
Okay, yeah, Webtoon friggin' sucks.
I mean, use it if you want to gain an audience quickly, but don't expect to get paid for it.
No,
they're gonna cheat you out of your money, like they cheated us out of our money.
And then they tried to come after us again for these stupid YouTube videos.
Dude,
I mean, what's up with that?
They censor small creators all the time. They there was a Webtoon exposed Twitter thread that was talking about how much they don't pay their creators.
And then it got nuked, right?
It got wiped off the face of the internet. They make all their creators sign NDAs, so they can't talk about their pay, which is super shady, potentially illegal. They pay anybody who has like a dual language Spanish and English comic. Basically, don't do it because they'll pay you like $400 a month.
Oh god!
And they'll pay you the LatAm special, which is like $100 a chapter.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's freaking awful.
They
bro.
pay their international creators like below minimum wage.
Yeah,
way below.
It's like $800.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's horrible. So don't tell them that you're brown. Basically.
Yeah.
If you're gonna use them, I wouldn't. If you want to make a living off of it, it's like the easiest thing to do, but it's like signing a deal with the devil. You know, it's like the devil will give you what you think you want, but then you'll be in it and you'll be like, oh my god, why did I sign this deal?
Exactly.
It's like a Faustian bargain. The only people who made away with money were the people who signed up in like 2015 to 2020.
Yeah, the people who got there first.
Everyone else after that, because they're losing money, they're still not profitable. There's no way to profitability because streaming is collapsing.
Yeah.
They're like panicking, and I think they're gonna try to get rid of their US creators as much as possible and move to the Korean model because it's the cheapest for them.
Yeah, and people in Asian countries will pay for
US audience or the North America readers don't pay.
They're like, nah.
They won't pay. And I think, like, just to add on to this, because I think it's in the video we talk about like why the infrastructure in America doesn't exist versus in Japan and Korea. I mentioned anime growing in popularity and how that's like the predecessor to Webtoons. And I think the growth of manga and anime in the US has a huge history of aligning with like piracy.
Yeah.
And fan translations, fan scanlations. All of those were free. So I think US audience members who read Webtoons and read manga are used to getting them for free. They're not used to paying for them. Whereas in Japan, specifically Japan, you always pay for Jump. Jump has the latest chapter, you always pay for the whole magazine, even if you only want to read the latest chapter of Naruto.
Well, also, the anti-piracy laws in Japan are so, like...
Dude, they make you pay $40 for a DVD in Japan.
They're so, like, extreme.
They've milked anime and manga fans.
They've got, like, such this, like, insanely sophisticated software that can tell if you took a screenshot of a comic on your phone, and then they, like, send a SWAT team after you.
Dude,
like,
no, Japan, like, the anime industry has monetization down to an art.
Yeah.
Like, you can't buy a box set of Madoka Magica. You have to buy each DVD, which only has 2 episodes, and each DVD is $40.
In America, meanwhile, you go to Reddit, you see these people, like, they have, like, a picture from a comic, like a webtoon, people go, oh, what's this webtoon? They go, oh, here you go. They don't tell you the name of it. They give you a link to a website.
Yeah.
Shady website where it's just like, oh, you can read the entire thing.
Yeah, there's like a 20-year history of people pirating anime and manga.
And people are still so entitled.
They're so entitled.
In the West that they see that and they go, oh, some of the panels are not aligned. This sucks. And it's
well,
like,
I mean, like,
you're reading it for free.
No, it's like, dude, in America now, you can buy most manga in bookstores. Like, most of it is in bookstores now. They'll still pirate it. I'll be like, oh, I really like Attack on Titan, but I'm not going to support Isayama.
No, I mean, even forget, like, getting the physical copy of the book. You can get them on Google Play for the most part. A lot of
for cheaper.
Manga. Yeah,
like $5 a book.
Yeah, I have the entirety of Blue Period, like, all the way up to the latest English release volume.
You paid for the whole thing?
Yeah. And it's like, you know... These people, they'll complain about the free version that they're reading illegally.
Translation's terrible.
It's horrible. It's like, what's the matter with you people?
Hey, the artist. Hey, the artist.
It's like, these people have never created anything in their lives, you know? They're just going like, meh, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so callous, so terrible.
Yeah, they like read the whole series in one day.
They read it on the toilet.
Yeah, it's like the Truman Show when it's done, they're like, oh, what else is on TV?
Exactly. You're like, oh my god, right? That's when you watch a movie like The Menu and you go, oh, I understand the main antagonist now in The Menu dealing with these mofos. But yeah, so anything
There's problems
else?
on both sides, basically.
Yeah.
Consumers are very entitled. They want really high quality comics. They're comparing you to manga, but then they want it full color.
Yeah.
And they don't want to pay for it in America. English language comics, they don't want to pay for it.
Another thing for Webtoon, though, it's like the people who go to people's Patreons and they pay, those are the people that you want, right? But then again, those people only go for NSFW stuff.
So there's the consumer side, which is why it's really difficult to monetize your Webtoon, the entitlement, and then the expectation for it to be free. And then there's the platform side, which is like, even if you, like, because the reason you would sign up with Webtoon is because, oh, the consumers won't pay me. You know, no Joe Schmo is going to pay $1 per chapter. So I'll sign up with Webtoon and they'll pay me. But Webtoon doesn't pay you either.
No.
So you're screwed on both sides. And then, there's just so much competition that the whole medium has been really cheapened. And you're competing with Koreans, too. And the Koreans are like...
They have no qualms about, like, being
everything's
artists.
CG, too.
Submission. Yeah.
And we talk about that later in the video.
Yeah. So, okay, well, Webtoon sucks. And,
watch the rest of our video if you want the long and dirty version.
Yeah.
This is the short and dirty version.
Yeah.
If you want the long, extremely long, whiny version...
We'll put some drawings in there to make it more interesting visually, right? We might even have one going right now as we're talking. I'll record something, then you can record something too.
Yeah.
And just do it at regular speed, because it takes like 3 hours to do a drawing. So that's
I can
fine.
work on the redraw and then put it in there, yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, anything else to add?
I mean, Webtoon sucks. We're putting that in the title. Webtoon sucks.
Cancel Webtoon 2023, man.
Yeah, they don't want to pay their creators.
And it's not enough that you disappear off their website, you're minding your own business, you're doing your own thing on YouTube, which is way better than Webtoon, by the way. They'll still come after you.
I
and
know,
be like,
I know.
And then they'll copyright
Our
strike
series
you.
is failing, but stop pointing it out!
Yeah.
Stop pointing out how bad it is!
Here's a little bit of advice. If you're planning on doing videos on YouTube about Webtoon, you're afraid of getting copyright strike, they have no legal standing to do that.
No, they don't.
That's it's fair use, by
Unless
the way.
you're posting, like, the fast pass stuff
Yeah.
on YouTube and making money off of it. If you're recording your reaction or your commentary to reading the comic and then you have the comic scroll next to you, it's fair use. Because fair use under the copyright law is an exception to that, so that you can use copyrighted content as long as you significantly transform it with your own original content.
Yeah.
And as you know, these videos are hours and hours of us, like, complaining.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are here for. You're not here for Lore Olympus. Half of you guys don't even read Lore Olympus. You just want us to whine about it.
Yeah.
You're here for the whining.
The schadenfreude.
Not for Lore Olympus. Nobody's on our channel to, like, oh yeah, Lore Olympus, I can only read it with these two idiots talking over
Yeah,
it.
like, who needs that? No way. It takes us like 30 minutes to go over one panel.
Exactly.
You'd go insane trying to do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to make Webtoon reviews, do so without fear of getting copyright, because they have no leg to stand on, and they'd have to sue you to enforce that, and obviously they didn't do that to us, so.
No, it was an empty threat.
It's an empty threat, you know.
So, alrighty. Well, hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the video. We will now do something else, but you will see us again. Different lighting, different outfits, same people, similar conversation.
Totally different tone.
It's a different tone. See you guys later.
Bye.
And now the next video.
Yeah.
Whoa! And then boing. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Pyrrhic.
And I'm Victoria.
And today we have a special episode dedicated to a very interesting topic. We mentioned offhandedly in a couple of our videos that we're thinking of doing a general overview of our experience with Webtoon.
Right.
And hopefully we can provide some insight to people who have also tried to publish comics on Webtoon or who are thinking about it. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this in your attempts to look into Webtoon, but we definitely noticed that there are some things, some particularities where there's kind of like a lack of transparency. Information is kind of scattered all about the internet. So we compiled a list of observations and talking points, and we just thought we'd go over those with you guys today. So.
Yeah, I think as a broad overview for this video structure, I think we want to tackle our kind of Webtoon experiment, because earlier this year we decided to kind of make a very drastic life decision and launch a couple Webtoons ourselves.
You mean in 2022?
Sorry, 2022. Yeah, it's 2023 right now.
Yeah.
But last year we basically did this whole experiment where we decided to go like full on into Webtoon with the idea that, you know, we were seeing people getting picked up left, right, and center in 2020. You know, why not us? So we had this huge Webtoon experiment, and then we learned a lot. from doing that. Webtoon in 2023 is nothing like Webtoon in 2018, 2019, or even 2020. It's a very different landscape, and I think it's important to discuss like our experiences that led us to believe that, as well as other anecdotal stuff that I've seen on the internet from other creators, and then stuff that I've seen in the news and the scandals surrounding Webtoon, as well as like my kind of overall assessment of the industry and where Webtoon is going. Because I don't know if you know this, but Webtoon is the North American subsidiary of Webtoon is it's basically a branch of a Korean company called Naver, which has a service line Webtoon in Korea, and it's also a big Webtoon player or a big player of hosting Webtoons in Japan.
Yeah.
And they've basically been in Korea and Japan since 2004, 2005. So it's a really mature industry over there. They just launched in America they launched in America in 2014. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I would say it really gained steam in 2018 because, like, if you look at all the popular, well-known American English language or just English language Webtoons, the majority of them were launched in like 2018.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very different landscape in the United States and in North America, or even internationally, versus Japan and Korea. And I think that experiment from Webtoon is in trouble for various reasons. I just think in general, the platform and the current model that Webtoon is pursuing, especially with regards to foreign creators, is not sustainable. And you're just going to see things get worse from here on out. But, you know, we'll address that point as we come to it. I think we want to start off with our little experiment and our experience before we kind of branch off into, you know, broader topics surrounding Webtoon.
Yeah. So basically, I guess around January 2022, we were both kind of talking like, hey, you know, it'd be really great. We've been wanting to do a webcomic really since 2018, but there were things getting in the way, such as like education, work, obligations, real life stuff. And then we decided, hey, we have an opportunity here with the action contest. It started in June, I think. Submissions started in June.
Yeah, in June.
Yeah, and essentially what the action contest was is it was just a open competition to anybody who would submit a pilot episode that had to be at least 60 panels long, and it had to be in full color, and it had to be had to have a fight scene, and it had to be sort of like a pitch. And so Webtoon was going to give the top 3 people an offer to become a Webtoon original, and then the number one first place winner would get a $50,000 cash prize. They would become a Webtoon original, and then they would have an animated trailer made of their comic. And those are basically the guidelines, right? Like, they didn't really say anything else than that, except, you know, the usual no mature content, right? Like, nothing super scandalous, nothing that violated the terms and conditions of Webtoon. And so we were sitting there going, yeah, dude, we could win the contest. Why not? Why couldn't we?
Why not us?
We didn't win the contest, obviously. Duh. But in hindsight, I'm glad we didn't.
I'm so glad we didn't
because
win the contest.
Like dodged a bullet there after we sort of did our thing with the contest, and that kind of all fizzled out. Then we went forward and we tried again with the webcomics. And the 2 stories that we had submitted into the action contest were DCG, which is Death Crown God. I almost accidentally slipped into the real title of DCG.
Secret code.
You'll never know.
Title.
You'll never know what it was. But yeah, it's like there's like a manila file in like a big, underground warehouse. Yeah. Cue the Indiana Jones music. And I go in there and I do like an eye scan and I open the file.
No, it's X-Files. When you walk out of the door, it says know your exits.
Yeah,
the Pentagon.
With the Pentagon. Yeah, that's where it's at. It's in the Pentagon in a little file folder. That's where the truth of DCG lies. But yeah, so we did DCG, and then we also did Rage.
Right.
I did Rage as like a side thing, because I'm like, hey, we'll do better odds if we do 2 series. So I quickly pooped out Rage of the Red Fist, and I mean, both of those were just like, okay, here we go. I mean, we put a lot of effort into the scripting and writing of DCG. Rage, not so much. We took some old ideas that we had, and I just put it into like a pilot with a fight scene, because that's all that really mattered, right? It's just trying to get a fight scene in.
Right.
But at the time, we had no idea what Webtoon wanted.
Yeah, and so that's a common theme.
It's a common theme, and so you speculated during the action contest that the reason they were holding it was because they were trying to get more like shonen type content onto the website.
And I would say that the winners reflect that.
Yeah.
So my whole speculation with the contest is that they were trying to gain a male audience, And I think that's like a broader discussion point for Webtoon. Webtoon is basically, I would say, overwhelmingly female in terms of the audience. I would say it's like 80%. The English site is like 80% female.
Yeah.
And you can tell by the top 10 comics, they're all female-oriented romances or romance dramas. Fantasy, romance, whatever, including like Down to Earth, Let's Play, Lore Olympus, whatever.
True Beauty.
True Beauty, they're all female-oriented. And this action contest was like, we want action series that are like gritty or whatever, and it's like it's clear that they're trying to expand their base audience for Webtoon, just because like there's like a negative connotation for some reason. I mean, we all know what the reason is when it comes to media that's geared towards women versus men, and B, going along with the prestige for like comics tends to be towards like action-oriented comics.
Yeah.
Like Chainsaw Man and Attack on Titan are always viewed with much more like prestige than titles like, I don't know, Fruits Basket.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, even though Fruits Basket is like ridiculously popular.
So that being said, Webtoon kind of became like a refuge for girls and young women who wanted to read webcomics. So the media has always skewed way female, and the action contest that was launched last year was like basically Webtoon saying like, we don't want women and girls to dominate our website anymore. We want more dudes on this site. They put themselves in direct competition with like Shonen Jump. And like, I don't know, man, like you can't, I've never seen anything on Webtoon that competes with Attack on Titan or Chainsaw Man in terms of quality.
No.
A, and B, unlike in Japan and Korea, and this might be where they're coming from, because in Japan and Korea, I think it's like equal readership, male and female.
Yeah, much more men in Korea.
Much more men in Korea and Japan read comics. But in America, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
They don't read comics to the same extent that women do in America. So it's like, they probably thought that there was something wrong, that there's no readership, male readership on the app.
Yeah.
So they wanted to bring men to the app, but it's like, there's a difference in like attitude when it comes to comics in America versus Japan and Korea. There's just no culture. There's no comics culture here that's like long standing and hasn't endeavored since the 1980s and 90s, which is the golden age of American comics. A lot of guys will just wait in America. A lot of guys will just wait for the anime because a lot of these big shonen titles get translated and put into an anime anyway.
Yeah, I would also say that there's a lot more of like a commuter culture in East Asian countries where it's like you got time to kill when you're on your way to work, on your way to the grocery store, and the Webtoon format is perfect for that.
Right.
You scroll on your phone. Scrolling comics is like a novelty for Western audiences still, because they don't really have the commuter culture.
Well, the biggest thing is scrolling comics for Japanese and Korean consumers. It's like one step forward from what they already did, which was buy a magazine to read on the train while they were going to work with it, which had the latest chapter of XYZ in it.
Yeah, Shonen Jump.
We've never had that in America. So you're basically like jumping the line of developing a comics culture in America, a strong comics culture in America, and trying to build it from the ground up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, with China, the rise of China, they skipped corded telephones and they skipped modem-based dial-up internet and went straight to smartphones.
Yeah.
So you're doing that huge leap in infrastructure and building that audience. So that makes it incredibly expensive for Webtoon to advertise their comics, because for a lot of Americans who are their potential readership, they don't read comics to begin with. So you're basically trying to get people who've never read comics before into reading comics.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tangent from the action contest, but the whole point of the action contest and what we've seen with Webtoon in general since we started creating Webtoons was that they are basically in a huge state of flux.
Yeah.
They're trying to move away from their bread and butter that was keeping the website going from 2016, 2018 onwards. And they're really moving away from the types of titles that used to be very successful for them. June 2022, we both quit our jobs and decided to do comics full time, and we learned a lot of things in that process.
Yeah.
The whole demand that Webtoon has on creators for full color comics, at least 80 panels a week. We did that full time, and it was about an 80-90 hour week.
Yeah.
Between two people for one comic. And then when we had our own comics, because we were publishing our own comics individually for a while, it was still a 90-hour week for one person for one comic.
Yeah.
And the panel count was significantly diminished. Like, I would say for my comic, I was putting out 60 panels a week by myself.
So yeah, 60 panels for your comic.
Yeah.
I would say
that
about,
was 90 hours.
Yeah, 90 hours, and then it's the same here. for me, for my comic, and we were both taking shortcuts. And the quality was never always 100%.
The quality in our individual comics, if you look at, for example, Black Queen or Butterfly Dream, and then you look at DCG,
Yep.
I will never be able to reach those heights again. It's like effing Mount Everest, DCG is. Obviously, we like made the huge mistake of trying to put out like illustration quality artwork in a friggin' webtoon. Like, the art is too good. And I'm not like, you know, like tooting my own horn here. I'm saying like our character designs and our background environment designs, they were too detailed and too ambitious for a weekly updated full color comic. Like, I realize that now the best approach to take is like a more anime stylized approach. But suffice to say that even when we were working together, it was 90 hours a week, and then when we were working by ourselves, it was 90 hours a week with less panels. I think the Webtoon original requirement and what we were trying to like demonstrate to Webtoon is that we had the work ethic and the ability to put out 80, 90. I think in DCG our longest chapters were like 110. Something like that. It was like over 100 panels a week.
Yeah, we ran into issues with the limit, the upload limit.
Yeah, because
like, okay, let's drop the quality.
The art was too high quality.
And it ended up being potato quality, and it's like, this looks like hideous.
Right.
It's terrible. And then we realized it was like cavemen learning to make fire.
The amount of work to produce a high quality, full color, 80 plus panels a week is gonna be 80, 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
Especially for a single person.
Yeah.
There's just no way around that. And so that's the first thing we learned in this grand experiment of ours. And we did this weekly because we were trying to prove that we could hack the weekly schedule to Webtoon. The second thing that we learned was, even though you're publishing weekly and even though your art is good, that doesn't guarantee readers.
No.
That was a big issue, and I think this is an issue that's underexposed or discussed in the community, is like, there's no native discovery feature on Webtoon. It's not like YouTube where it like recommends new Webtoons to you based on your watch history, or like you can look for like video essays or anything like that. There's no tagging system. The only thing you can do is like filter by genre, but the genre definitions are very weird and loose.
Yeah.
And then you can filter by popularity, I guess. But if you're only looking at the stuff that's already popular, it's all long running.
Yeah.
And it's not stuff that's like new that might be really good but just gets lost in the pile.
No.
So there's no discoverability. Your stuff pretty much gets buried.
Yeah.
Unless you're posting every week and unless you have like a consistent upload schedule and it's like really good stuff, no one's gonna see it.
I mean, and you can even do that. Like, I mean, DCG, we had a consistent upload schedule. It was good stuff. And we, like, basically hit all the targets. We had long chapters, and we did that whole thing.
Good art.
But unfortunately, action as a genre is just not popular on the website.
No, it's not popular on Webtoon.
So we didn't even break, like, 100 subscribers.
No, we were posting for, like, 6 weeks, and we didn't even have 100 subscribers.
No.
So the discoverability is really low. I don't think many people even read Canvas.
No.
And when they do read Canvas, they don't go digging in the trash pile. No. They basically go by the top series in Canvas.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my third point that we discovered when we were doing this whole Webtoon thing ourselves, which is promotion.
Yeah. So on Canvas, basically, there's like you said, even if you do that, it gets lost in the shuffle. If you look at the newest posted comics for every single genre, they've got comedy, romance, action, whatever. Every time you refresh the page, everything gets shifted. There's chapters updating constantly.
There's tons of competition.
Yeah.
Not all of it, or even most of it's good.
No.
But it makes it impossible to find a new series to read.
Because it's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
It's like 2006 YouTube.
Yeah.
Before the algorithm.
Yeah, it's very, very, like,
primitive.
Low tech. Basically, what Webtoon Canvas will do is they have 3 different promotion cycles. They have what's called Fresh Picks. And from my observations, Fresh Picks is a series of 6 comics that they choose.
It's like the first 3 episodes.
It's the first 3 episodes.
Based on the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, based on the first 3 episodes, or the first 3 uploads, they look at the comic, and only if it has decent art will they promote it.
It's the lowest bar.
Yeah.
It's basically if it has decent art and it's like written in intelligible language.
Yeah.
They'll promote it.
No, but one of them wasn't even in an intelligible language. It was like really poorly translated or something. And I was like, what the heck? Yeah, so, I mean, even the language is like hit or miss.
So the number 1 bar to clear is art.
Yeah, art. If you have decent art, that's like nice to look at, right? And then the second form of promotion they have is staff picks.
Yeah.
Right? And staff picks is when a member of the staff picks it, and then it makes it to the front page of the Webtoon app.
For like a week.
Yeah, so Fresh Pick stays on the front page of the Canvas
app
part of the series. It's not put on the front page. And then the staff pick is on the front page. And then in addition to that, they have Hidden Gems. And Hidden Gems is a comic that they'll pick out that has been around for a while.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. It hasn't been promoted yet.
Yeah, it hasn't really been promoted yet. And they'll stick that on the front page of the app as well. And then they have like special promotions sometimes for different genres. Like they'll have like a roster of horror or a roster of romance.
For spooky season and Valentine's Day.
I mean, not even for spooky season and Valentine's Day. It's just like top web comics or like hot webtoons on Canvas in this genre and that genre. Like the Jeff the Killer one is always on the front page in like romance or horror. It's like right. So I love thinking about romancing Jeff the Killer. That's like who wouldn't, right? So stuff like that sometimes makes it to the front page as well. So those are the big three, right? You got your Fresh Picks, Staff Picks, Hidden Gems, and then for those specialty occasions, like just on Halloween recently, they had Canvas Spooky Tunes,
right? And
that was like a roster of like maybe 200 or like some really big amount of.
It was a lot. It was like 100 or something.
Yeah, a lot of comics that they just promoted on the front page for the entire month of October. And then occasionally on Fresh Picks or Staff Picks, they'll also do what's called push notifications. So they'll send everybody who's got notifications on the app a message, hey, you should check out this comic. And then people look at it. And that's a way to get like thousands of subscribers in a blink of an eye.
Right.
In fact, so out of all 5 of our comics, right, the only one to ever get promoted was The Butterfly Dream. And that's it. And it's so funny because when me and you were planning to do our individual series, we both went like, okay, we're gonna do like the shotgun approach. We're gonna cover all these bases.
That's why we did individual. So we had a series where we did it together.
Yeah.
To enter the action contest to make the art look really good, and because we didn't know what we were doing, and we figured it'd be easy with 2 of us. And then after the action contest series ended, we were like, okay, this isn't working. We're not getting picked up. It's been 6-8 weeks, and maybe we should start a new series that's like more popular, which is fantasy romance.
Yeah.
And then something that's underrepresented in Canvas, which is horror thriller.
Yeah, it's horror, crime, mystery, I think is what I ended up
crime
going
mystery,
with.
yeah.
Yeah, because thriller is relatively popular.
Yeah.
So you did fantasy romance, I did horror, crime, mystery. And so for the first couple weeks, both of us, you were getting maybe 10, 15 subscribers.
I had like 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
Within like a couple weeks.
Okay, so you had like maybe 30 subscribers.
I got like 100 subscribers pretty fast.
Yeah, and then I was getting like 10 subscribers an update. And then it got featured, it got picked up as a Fresh Pick. And then after that I got 500 subscribers after a week, because they do the Fresh Pick for a week. And then after the Fresh Pick, immediately after that, I got Staff Pick. So Staff Pick was putting the series on the front page of the Webtoon app for 2 weeks. And with that, I went to 2,000 subscribers.
Right. You got thousands.
Yeah, so I went from 500 to 2,000 with Staff Pick. But then the Staff Pick also did a push notification.
Yeah.
And the push notification took it from 2,000
to like 5,000.
To 5,000 in a day.
Yeah.
Like, that push notification took it from... And at that point, I only had 6 chapters out. And then, no promotion after that.
Yeah,
so
no promotion for months. Especially on Canvas, you have really fickle audiences.
Yeah.
Where they'll sign up if it's being... Or they'll subscribe if it's being promoted.
Yeah.
And they'll read everything up to the point where it's been promoted. And then after a couple weeks... Especially if you don't update, they'll like start mass unsubscribing. Like they're so fickle, or like, you know, like 50 people will drop off after the next update. I don't even know why, because her story was, I would say, decently, like it maintained a consistent level of quality.
Yeah, I mean, there were parts where I rushed plot lines and I panicked and I didn't stick to the script that I had written.
Yeah, but compared to the average stuff on Webtoon, I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it was just a matter of overthinking, because there's stuff on Canvas that is just lowest common denominator stuff.
And that stuff still gets promoted.
It gets promoted a lot. There's they have the 4-panel comedy comics that are it's just humor. That's all it is.
There's romance comics on there that are basically 90% censor bars.
Yeah.
And they're just advertisements for somebody's like NSFW Patreon.
Yeah, and it's just, they give that like lizard brain dope hit.
Yeah.
And people love
and
them.
And that's the stuff that's popular on Canvas. Like on Canvas, everyone's like goblin mode.
Yeah.
And I think this ties to like an overarching thesis with the webcomics industry and like the structure of webcomics in general. I mean, I'll get to that point later. I think we should continue with our observations, but I think there's a real reason why you see like the quality of material on Webtoon that's promoted and that's popular very much tends to favor the lowest common denominator. And I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But I'll let you continue talking about promotions.
Yeah, so the season-specific promotion, the only one that we were able to tap into was horror, because October, I believe in the middle of October, that's when they did the Halloween Spooky Tunes.
Yeah, and you were on the front page, like, the whole month.
Yeah.
It was October 14th or something.
Yeah.
You were on the front page the whole month until, like, the last 2 days of October.
It wasn't just on the front page, it was the first comic with the biggest thumbnail on the front page.
Yeah.
So after that, it went from like 5,000 to 12,000.
Oh, 12,000.
Yeah, 12,000. So, I mean, that's not even that big of a jump, right? Like, some series, I know that I'm Dating a Stalker went from like 5,000 to like 70,000 or something, like just a crazy
because
amount.
it's romance.
Exactly, because it's romance, and the art is so nice for that comic.
The art looks like a webtoon, like a Korean webtoon.
Yeah, it's really, really great. The creator is a really talented artist. I think she's got a team of people who are just awesome. So because the quality was so high for that one, it just, straight up. And that was also promoted for the Spooky Toon month. Yeah. But because it was romance, it got really, really popular. And then they also have the Canvas Creator Awards or something.
Yeah, there's like an award season where they nominate creators and comics for each genre.
Yeah. I didn't know that you weren't allowed to nominate yourself, because I went to the page and they go, nominate a comic here, and I went, okay, I'll nominate The Butterfly Dream. And
disqualified.
Yeah, right under that it said, if you nominate yourself, you're going to be disqualified. And I was like, oh. Right after submitting it, I was like, you couldn't have put that above?
No, it was like red text after you submitted it. It was like, thank you for your nomination. If you nominate yourself, you'll be disqualified.
Yeah, so I was like, oh no. And so I was disqualified, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, after Halloween wrapped up, nothing.
Our biggest takeaway from that was noticing, and I was putting out Black Queen every week, like a friggin' schlemiel, like just slaving away over Black Queen. Like, I think at the end I had like 180 subscribers.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why am I doing this? Like, working 90-hour weeks for 180 subscribers.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, the majority of the subscribers don't comment.
No, they don't.
Or like.
I don't need likes and comments to, like, boost my ego or whatever, but this was, like, my full-time job. I'm not making any money off of it.
Yeah.
I'm putting, like, my blood, sweat, and tears into a freaking comic that I'm, like, proud of, and I'm excited to share the story with people. And then, like, at the end, it's like, cool, And it's like, okay, well, like, honestly, between, like, YouTube and Webtoon, YouTube is, like, night and day.
Yeah.
Like, your comments on our videos are so insightful, so interesting. Even if I don't have time to respond to all of them, like, I want to, because I'm like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. I never thought of that before, Yeah. So I think, like, the quality of interactivity and the quality of feedback and promotion between YouTube and Webtoon is night and day.
Yeah.
I think with Webtoon, like, the biggest takeaway is, like, pretty much, it doesn't matter how much work you put into it. It doesn't matter how good your art is. It doesn't matter how good your story is. If Webtoon doesn't pick you up and promote the crap out of you, you're not getting any subscribers and you're not getting any views.
No.
I think Black Queen had, like, 5,000 views? And, like, a lot of the views and subs came from, like, leakage from Butterfly Dream.
Yeah, because they would see more by
Victoria. And it was so frustrating, because it's like, I did that for, like, we worked on those series for 2 months.
Yeah.
And, like, after 2 months, it's like, what do you have to show for it?
Yeah, it's...
2 months, 90 hours a week. That's, like, what? 360, or 360, it's like, this is embarrassingly bad math that is taking me so long. It's 720 hours.
Don't worry, you can edit it to make it look like you're really having a hard time to crunch the numbers, and it'll be funny. But
it was 720 hours. 720 hours of work for 190 something subscribers.
Yeah.
And then 4,000 views.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we can, like, poop out a YouTube video. Like, we sit down and film these. We're both working full time again.
Yeah.
We sit down and film these 1 day a week, edit during the week. It's probably a grand total of 10 hours per video in terms of work?
Yeah,
10, 15 hours per video in terms of work. And you get so many more views, so many more comments, so many more subscribers because of the big crucial difference in discoverability and in promotion. YouTube doesn't wait for, like, some random guy named Bob Smith to read your comment and promote it with opaque guidelines. Like, people complain about the YouTube algorithm being opaque. I don't know how to get Patty from Los Angeles to like and promote my comic. Like, that's the most frustrating thing about Webtoon. It's like, you can try all you want to make a good comic. That doesn't mean that's what Webtoon is looking for. And we made a shonen comic that was basically like Dark Souls, which is a really popular video game that was released around 2022. Mm-hmm. We made a friggin' dark romance fantasy, which would be like aimed towards women.
Yeah.
We made the freaking Butterfly Dream, which was the dark horse, which is like, well, nobody's really doing horror thriller, and I personally like to write horror thrillers, so I'll write this.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll go somewhere.
Yeah.
And that was the one that took off.
Yeah, and it's like, what?
And it's like I don't even know, because like again, we were like, oh, the action contest, Webtoon wants more guys on the platform.
Yeah.
Okay, our DCG comic, which had amazing art and good action, went nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try a female-focused comic. Okay, that went nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just write something I would want to write.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that went pretty far.
Oh, it's like the kind of story you would see like in an HBO miniseries.
Yeah.
Or like Mike Flanagan on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't seem like it would be something that would take off at all. So
it seems very mismatched to the demographics of Webtoon.
Yeah, and honestly, like a lot of the comments were from like
older people.
Not only older people, some of them were from kids who didn't know what was going on either, you know? There was one person who said they didn't know how to play baseball, and I was like, how young are you? This comic is full of F words, you shouldn't be reading this, right? So, yeah, it was interesting, and it's frustrating.
It's very frustrating. Because
like,
if your comic is at the mercy of the team of editors, the editorial panel, they don't give you any guidelines.
No.
Like, they don't say, like, okay, we're looking for a new comic. Like, this would be my advice.
Yeah.
If anyone from Webtoon is watching this, you can take down all our comics. I don't care. You already refused to pay us. Who cares? You know, we're spilling the tea, and you guys don't like that. But if you are interested in fixing your platform for creators to attract talent, please, for the love of God, like, I know that I'm not here to write the story that I want to write. I'm here to write the story that people want to read. Right. And I'm here to write the story that Webtoon wants to host on its platform. Please, for the love of God, release, like, a freaking, I don't know, guideline, or, like, you know, when they solicit scripts, Hollywood solicits scripts, they put out, like, calls. Mm-hmm. You know, they're like, we're looking for this type of genre, we're looking for this many characters, we're looking for this kind of setting. Just release something like that. Publishers do that, too. Publishers put out, like, little memos going like, this is what we're currently looking to publish. Because it's a business. I know that. At the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah.
And especially Webtoons, you're appealing to, like, it's commercial, right? It's not, like, literary. I mean, you could write a literary Webtoon. I'm not saying that Webtoons aren't literature, but for the Webtoon website, it's commercial. It's commercial publishing. Tell me what you want to see. Tell me what you think will succeed on the app, and I will freaking write it for you. But just give some guideline, because to have people working 90 hours a week, producing a full color comic, putting their blood, sweat, and tears into it, and then getting silence for months on end, it's the most frustrating thing in the world.
But you know what? I bet Webtoon couldn't even do that if they wanted to, because I don't think they themselves
don't know. They don't know.
Otherwise, why would they have that Trevor Mueller guy?
Yeah,
with his
industry connections.
Yeah, his industry connections and his series that nobody's reading.
The friggin' cyberpunk one.
Yeah,
the ugly one.
I can't even remember what it's called.
I can't remember what it's called either.
And he did another one about a guy who like fixes haunted toilets or something.
Yeah,
and nobody's reading that.
Repossession.
Yeah, Repossession. And then Nexus Point.
Yeah, Nexus Point.
Yeah.
It sounds like a software startup company.
It does, yeah, Nexus Point. And it seems so much like How Do You Do, Fellow Kids?
Yeah.
That it's like...
Same thing with Repossessed. It looks like anime from 2005.
Like, I think somebody said that Nexus Point looks like a Warner Brothers Kids show.
Yeah, it does.
The color palette and everything. Yeah,
Static Shock.
Yeah, WB Kids show. Static Shock was good. I rewatched Static Shock a couple years ago, and it was pretty good. I mean, Nexus Point, I gave it a chance. I read like 10, 15 chapters. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
And same thing with Repossession. It was very much like Kappa Mikey or something like
That's
that.
what I'm saying, 2005 anime.
Yeah, so it was very strange that they optioned those series for the website.
Yeah.
And then the DC properties,
the DC comics,
like the Wayne Family Comics, and then Zatanna. Yeah, and they also had the Red Hood and everything like that. There's like a big fan base for all of the Robins. Like that's like a huge thing where like a bunch of I'm gonna say teen girls. I think most of the fans are like teenage girls.
Yeah.
Not to be disparaging about it, but they're like a lot of big time fans of the Robins, like the Dick Grayson and the Tim Drake and all those guys, and the Nightwing and all that stuff. There's a big fan base around that. So then they put that in there, and those series are popular because you have that demographic of people who like Young Justice.
They basically made DC Comics and then like tried to gear them more towards girls. Yeah. But I feel like it's so disingenuous because like those are commercial properties. They're hiring like established industry artists. Yeah. Crucially, the difference between the average person on Canvas and the average Webtoon Originals creator pre all of this time period and then now, these guys being hired by Webtoon, they're all dudes. Yeah. Like you look at their credentials, you look at their backstory, you look at who they are. they're all dudes who write comics for men.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you bringing in all these like 40-year-old guys to write comics for teenage girls when you have so many people on Canvas putting out good work, like The Exorcist Bracelet?
Yeah.
That's such a good series, and it still hasn't been picked up.
Yeah.
And it's like, those series are actually written by women who understand their target audience, and they have fans who like their content, but you're shoving them aside in favor of these DC properties, and then that Trevor Mueller guy, who also has industry connections, and I think he's just like, he has like a family connection to Webtoon.
Probably, and so...
Because his ascendance is bizarre. He's not a good writer.
No, it is bizarre, and like, you look at the teams behind these comics, right? Like, we read Vixen.
Yeah.
We read like the first
Vixen
chapter.
was terrible.
It was meandering. Like,
it was nonsense.
Was meandering.
No,
nonsense.
it was weird. It was weird nonsense.
Yeah, and it's like then you read the end of the chapter and it's like, wow, that was a big waste of time, a bunch of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a team of 12 people.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what? Right? So
and they're probably getting paid big bucks by Webtoon.
Yeah, and meanwhile you have other artists like Rainy Apple.
Yeah.
Rainy Apple was a fantastic artist. Still is a fantastic artist, and she wrote a comic that, again, was Webtoon original quality, and she even got feedback from an editor.
Yeah.
But it was only feedback for her art style.
Yeah.
Which was strange. But she had all the bases covered and all that stuff, but she gave it up to go back to being an illustrator.
Yeah.
Because of the fact
it's a full-time job. It's 90
Yeah.
hours a week, and you're not getting any feedback.
Yeah.
You're not getting any promotion. Or even if you do get promoted, like Butterfly Dream got promoted for like 2 months in a row.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, is it finally going to get picked up? Because we've been publishing it for 3 months.
Yeah.
Nothing. Silence.
Yeah,
and they just keep expecting you to jump through more hoops. Like, they wanted to invite us to the Creator Summit.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, is the Creator Summit going to actually lead to us getting picked up?
Yeah.
Like, how much do I have to, like, give up not having a job and producing this comic full-time for free and, like, keep following you around and kissing your butt just to get an option to be a Webtoon original?
Yeah.
It's a very opaque and I think unethical process for signing up Webtoon originals.
Yeah.
Because it's not based on anything. It's so arbitrary and there's no information put out. It's not like they're saying we're looking to hire X number of writers this year for these genres.
No.
That would be something. You would still have to quit your job and work on it full time for no pay, but you would know what you're working towards.
Yeah.
And there would be like established guidelines. For me, working on Webtoon felt like I was working for free for a company for the potential of getting a full-time job with no feedback, no guidelines, no idea what they were looking for, nothing. And it was incredibly frustrating. And again, YouTube by comparison, we just post our crappy, low production value videos into the void, and like our first Lore Olympus video just got promoted to crap by the algorithm.
Yeah.
But like you look at the video, it's crap. Like I was looking at it the other day and I was like, I'm embarrassed to have put this out on the internet.
The amounts of ums and uhs, like
the lack of lighting, the poor camera quality.
The fact that it becomes nighttime when we're just sitting there like this. I spent like 10 minutes in that video just going like this.
I know.
No camera awareness at all. No presence. No screen
No.
presence. I want to smack my past self for being such a friggin' dork.
No screen record.
No screen record. You guys didn't even know what panels we were looking at.
No.
I mean, what the heck?
Why do you watch our videos?
It's embarrassing. Don't tell people you watch this channel. It's embarrassing. No, but I mean, seriously. Yeah, so many good artists, like you mentioned, Exorcist Bracelet, lots of great canvas artists, lots of people who have, like, actual decent writing chops, and it's just
Exorcist
nothing.
Bracelet is well written.
Yeah.
For Webtoon standards, it's well written.
Yeah, and so, like, that's just the thing.
Yeah, so you might be wondering, like, Pyrrhic, Victoria, why did you quit your decently paying jobs to work for Webtoon if you knew that it was like this? Well, my friend, the thing is, actually, that we did...
You've been reading way too much Lore Olympus. Cut it. Oh my god. It's brainworms.
Brainworms!
Okay, continue.
Oh god.
Just continue.
I'm so sorry. Well,
Maybe you should consider why you quit your decently paying jobs.
Oh no!
Webtoon.
I'm so sorry!
Go on.
Oh my god, I need to cut these things off.
Go on.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
No, you're doing it again.
I don't know what to do with these things. Okay, I'll just do this.
That's what I'm doing it for.
Basically, we did do a lot of research before we quit our jobs.
Yeah.
I remember, like, looking at some of the top Webtoon creators. Like, we definitely looked at Manji and Rachel.
Yeah.
The creators of Let's Play and Lore Olympus, and that's what even got me, like, started reading their comics. I didn't quit my job in 2020, but my first comic, was posted in 2020, and I don't look at it, it's embarrassing. I just keep it up there because I want to see, like, sometimes, like, how far I've come in my art. So I look at it and cringe and go like, oh my god, I'm so much better now. But I noticed that my first comic actually had more views and subs than DCG did.
Yeah.
And the art was significantly worse.
Yeah.
So in 2020, it seemed like it was a totally different story, and in 2020, it seemed like if we could just unite forces and improve the art and improve the story together, we would have an easy enough time getting picked up for Webtoon. That was my impression on Webtoon in 2020, just dicking around posting this comic. So I did a lot of research in terms of looking at the top series, and I noticed that a lot of them were picked up in like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the interval for these series between posting on Canvas and getting picked up was like a matter of weeks, if not a few months.
What's that one? It's the one about Suitor Armor, right?
Suitor
that one
Armor
got picked up very quickly.
Suitor Armor got picked up within 3 episodes. Yeah, so Suitor Armor got picked up in 2020, and I noticed that like up until 2020, it seemed like the time between like posting and getting picked up was, in some cases, was really, really low. As long as the quality was there, you could get picked up in like a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, within like for the ones that it took months to get picked up, it's because their chapters were really short.
Yeah.
Or they were posting like once a month, you know? Or for the people who were posting every week, it was like they'd posted 5 episodes and they were picked up. I figured our chances were really, really good going into 2022, especially with the action contest and like seeing the average caliber of like Webtoons on Webtoon. It's like we had a fighting chance.
Yeah.
The amount of time we were on Webtoon was like June to October.
Yeah, I mean, I put 1 episode out, I think, at the end of November.
I think my last episode was like early November.
Yeah.
Maybe late October.
Yeah.
But we posted for what? That's like a good 5 months. And we were posting weekly. So we had like over, I would say 20 episodes, right? Over 20 episodes between the two of us. Actually, between the two of us, it was like probably closer to 50 episodes.
Yeah.
For all of our different series. And I believe that with our, like the number of series that we had, we showed a huge range in terms of art style as well as story writing ability, because all of our comics are totally different from art style and story, or in terms of art style and story. It's like a completely different story, completely different art style, every single comic. So we figured we'd proved, like, not only can we produce weekly, we also have a very diverse range of styles and story ideas, and we had that versatility to basically produce good quality art, good quality story on a weekly basis. Did that for 50 episodes and still didn't get picked up, which was pretty shocking to me because, again, from what I'd seen, the research that I'd conducted, if it was a decent series that got decently popular, it was picked up within 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And it's not like none of our series were not getting featured. Like we were saying, Butterfly Dream got featured like the entire month of October.
Yeah, 3 times.
And then like 3 times before that. So we were getting the feedback basically from Webtoon that this is a good series. She was continuing to post it weekly. The art was good, the story was good. It was generating a following, and we still weren't getting picked up.
Yeah.
And then to rub salt in the wound, Pyrrhic qualified for monetization at the end of October.
Yeah, so the monetization requirements is you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers, and you gotta hit 40,000 views a month.
It's the same monetization requirements as YouTube.
I think that's so stupid, though, because
but it's actually it's not even the same monetization requirements as YouTube, because YouTube just requires 40,000 views total. Yeah. It doesn't require 40,000 views like an average amount of 40,000 views per month.
Yeah, every month. And so I think it's stupid, though, even to have the same amount of views per YouTube, because from an outsider looking in, obviously there's no transparency about why Webtoon picks the numbers it does. It seems to me like they just saw that was YouTube's numbers, and then they just copied it. Even though the number of people going to Webtoon to read is nowhere near the number of people going to YouTube to watch.
Well, even that, even beyond that, even if the total readership is much lower than the total viewership of YouTube, there's also no algorithm to recommend new series, and there's no discoverability. So if you're a small series, the only way you can hit 40,000 views is if you're famous somewhere else and you bring that following to YouTube or Webtoon, or Webtoon markets the crap out of your series. That was the only time we were able to hit that monetization requirement.
Yep.
And in the absence of Webtoon featuring Butterfly Dream, you were getting like basically a couple hundred hits.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. We hit the requirement eventually, though, and we applied for the monetization.
You want to tell that story?
Yeah, so basically they said that it might take a matter of weeks to get back to you for the monetization. And then there's not really a
It
lot
took a
of
month.
Yeah, it took a month, but there's not really a lot of information as for like how much money you can expect to get from the monetization.
There's no information.
Yeah, it's not like YouTube, which breaks down what the RPM, CPM is, and then they have like a fixed cost of like the cost per view and things like that. And then they also tell you on the YouTube creator profile like how much of your money is coming from views versus membership, like YouTube Premium, right? And then like the amount of money that you're making.
It gives you demographic information too. Like YouTube, the creator analytics available to you are really, really, really good.
They're very helpful.
And the creator analytics given to you on Webtoon are basically just views per day and then like subscribers per day.
Yeah, and it's interesting because so that's on Canvas, right? That's to hit the monetization, and the monetization is essentially that you're going to have ads at the bottom of your comic. And then however many people click on those ads, you get a percentage of that. And
there's the creator rewards program, which pays you based on total views.
Right.
And then there's also 50% of advertising revenue.
Right.
So Webtoon makes its money as like a marketplace platform. So it's the same as YouTube, where Webtoon doesn't produce anything itself creatively at all. It just gives you, it just provides a hosting site which congregates all of the comics onto one platform. And in that sense, they basically are a middleman. They don't produce anything. All of their revenue depends on the strength of the creators. But that being said, they take away like 50% of the ad revenue from the creator.
Yeah.
And the creator rewards program is actually being phased out. It was phased out at the end of 2022, and now creators are only being paid 50% of the ad revenue and then the tipping system.
Has the tipping system already been implemented? Because I know they said at the end of 2022 it was supposed to be implemented.
I'm not sure if it's implemented yet, but that's the revenue strategy that they're moving towards.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that's way worse for the creator because, like, I think YouTube isn't even 50%. It's 45% on YouTube, which is less than what it is on Webtoon. When Webtoon has a fraction of the viewership of YouTube.
Yeah,
and there's no algorithm to help you out as a channel.
It's not significantly less than what it is on Webtoon.
It's not significantly less, but I feel like YouTube does a lot more to support its creators, and they seem a lot more invested in creators being successful than Webtoon does.
Yeah, and so I don't even know what the amount of money is per view on, or like quick click through on like an advertisement on Webtoon.
It's really low.
It is quite low because I think anecdotally there were a couple people on TikTok talking about how much money they've made on their Canvas series, and they have like a couple 100,000 views overall, and they hit that 40,000 average every month, and they're only getting like $15-20 or something.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Like, it's not anything that you can sustain yourself off of.
I mean, we're a small channel on YouTube. We have 1,500 subscribers, which is less than the amount of subscribers that you had for Butterfly Dream. Yeah. And we're making $15 a video. Yeah. Pretty much. The day it goes up, it's like $15, and we make more like a long tail. Yep. But like $15 a video, we put out 4 or 5 videos a month, you know, and we're a nothing burger. Yeah. Well, as our channel grows, we'll make more off of that, like significantly more than you could off Webtoon for significantly less work. Yeah, and so we hit the monetization requirement, and then they rejected us, and they said that... Oh my god, the monetization requirement was such a freaking joke. Yeah. It was a freaking joke. They, like, some dude who I'm pretty sure isn't even based in America... It seems like his only job is to come up with reasons to deny payment to creators. It was so frustrating because you couldn't get a straight answer out of him. I was like, okay, like let's apply for monetization, and then he was like, your monetization's been denied. Yeah. For this really opaque reason. Well, so the weird thing actually was that he gave a list of the episodes. He said a lot of your episodes have unlawful content and they've been removed. No, first he said your monetization has been denied because of copyright claim. Yeah. And first he said it was because of violation of terms of service. Yeah. And then I emailed him back and I was like, what do you mean by violation of terms of service? Yeah. And then he's like, copyright, it was like something about copyright. Well, he said copyright and unlawful content. Yeah, copyright and unlawful content. And I was like, well, can you tell me which episodes contain the copyright and unlawful content? This is three emails in at this point. Each email was like a day. Each email was like a day, and it was like a 1-sentence response. Yeah. So then he's like, this episode has like an example of copyright content, and it was a screenshot from... Well, no, he listed all the episodes first that had the so I had to go back and ask him again, and then give me an example. Yeah, give me an example after that. So that was like the fourth email, and he gave me an example, which is a screenshot of the comic, and it was like one of her Blender assets, which she makes herself. She doesn't use those Blender assets from anyone else. She makes them herself. It's a gas station with the name Longhorn Liquor. Yeah. It doesn't exist in real life. It's a freaking Blender asset. Yeah. And he's like, this is a copyright this is an example of copyright, like, violation. And we're like, what?
Well, yeah, no, he said that, and then, like, driver's licenses, right? I put fake addresses that were, like, references to horror movies. Like, I referenced the movie from The Exorcist, and then I referenced the house from The Exorcist, and then I referenced, like, some house from some other horror movie. I think Elm Street
Nightmare
or something. Nightmare on Elm Street. So on the guy's driver's license, I put that, and he goes, these are real addresses. You can't give personal information like this. And I'm like, they're not real addresses.
They're not real addresses.
They're fake addresses. Like, literally, the driver's license numbers were just random, like, oh, I'm gonna put the Fermi constant here. I'm gonna put pi here. Oh, you need 20 numbers? I'm gonna choose an irrational number and put it there. Because I was being like, I don't know, like, oh, I'll just put something, Avogadro's number. Oh, I'm gonna put that in there too. And he's like, no, you can't do that. That's doxing information. That's unlawful content. But then it was weird because he said that the web, like, the episodes had been removed. But they hadn't. They were still up.
Removed. They were still up.
And Webtoon still profits.
The Webtoon still makes money. It was still #1 on the page.
Yeah.
This is during spooky season.
It was because we hit the threshold. It was still being promoted. Season. Yeah, it was still being promoted. And it's like, what do you mean? None of the episodes have been removed.
No.
None of them have.
They're still online.
Yeah.
They're still getting thousands of hits. They're still getting thousands of subscribers.
Yeah.
We just can't get paid for that.
Yeah.
After a time where I was like, I responded and said, like, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't meet the definition of copyright.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't fall under copyright law. This guy's obviously not a lawyer. He doesn't know what the F he's talking about. He just, like, blah, blah, blah. You can't use the word Texas in your comic. And it's like, Texas isn't a copyright. It's not a copyright state. The state isn't effing copyright, bro.
No.
Like, you can put Texas, you can set stuff in the real world. You know, because, you know, even Let's Play has 3D assets with, like, they have, like, the coffee shop. I forget what the coffee shop's called. But they have that 3D asset in there, and the coffee shop has a name on it.
And if you Google it, there's like an Instagram account that comes up of an independent coffee shop.
Yeah, so by that logic, Let's Play shouldn't be putting that stuff in there.
Yeah, and I used some song lyrics from, like, that Rolling Stones song, Sympathy for the Devil, and he said that's copyright violation, but there's another Korean webcomic that I read that had lyrics from And She Will Be Loved by Adam Levine or Maroon 5.
No, it's friggin' James Blunt.
Oh yeah, James Blunt.
No, that is Maroon 5.
Yeah, because I was like, Adam Levine's voice.
No,
is like,
James Blunt is. You're beautiful.
Yeah, you're beautiful.
And
you will. Yeah, they had those lyrics in that Korean comic.
Yeah.
So it's like rules for me, for thee, but not for me, right? Yeah. So it was like, what the heck?
That's what I'm saying.
On?
It was just an excuse not to pay you.
Yeah, and even if they do pay you, it's ridiculous because they say that they only give you like $15-$20, and then they only pay out once it hits $100.
Oh yeah, so you're only gonna get paid once a year.
Yeah, and if you never make that $100 for the whole year, sorry, you can't get that money. We're not gonna give it to you. And what's so bizarre is that this lack of transparency actually is even extrapolated to Webtoon original creators.
Yeah, so this is all the Canvas experience. If you're like a scrub creator, which we were firmly in the scrub territory, we never got picked up for Webtoon originals. So I think there's two prongs to that. There's the lack of transparency, the frustrating process to get picked up, and the fact that we noticed that the time to get picked up has lengthened dramatically. Like, it used to be a few episodes, you would get picked up if it was good and popular, and they featured you a couple times to see if people would like it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, we've been featured multiple times, we got thousands of subs, you know, I would say tens of thousands of views.
Yeah.
And we were one of the most popular comics in Canvas in the horror section, still didn't get picked up.
No.
No word from the Webtoon editors.
No.
So I think, and then we did like a deep dive into the number of series getting greenlit now, and I think we can talk about that first before we pivot over to the Webtoon original experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So one of the biggest things that we noticed, as I've mentioned before, is that the time to get picked up had lengthened dramatically. And out of curiosity, because we were like, what the F is going on, bro? We've been publishing for 6 months, no lift, you know?
Yeah.
No lift from Webtoon whatsoever. Our comics are decent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if you look at the other stuff on the site, our comics are pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's just nothing. There's no word. There's nothing from Webtoon. So we did a little experiment, and we looked at all of the comics that were being greenlit that year. And we tried to compare it to previous years, the total number of comics that were being greenlit, and then when that comic stopped publishing versus when it started publishing as a Webtoon original.
Yeah.
And one thing that we definitely noticed was that the total number of greenlit comics from the Canvas section had gone down.
Yeah.
I think it was like 40, 50 something in previous years, like 2020, 2021, 2022, or 2020, 2021. And And then in 2022, it was like 18.
Yeah.
For the first 6 months of 2022.
Yeah, I mean, so we had to go through the Instagram page of the Webtoon official Instagram page because they do like a little announcement, and I'm pretty sure they also have the announcements on like the Webtoon canvas.
They do. It's like monthly. They have like that monthly announcements comic.
Yeah. And so we put all that in a spreadsheet, and the ones that we could find on Canvas that still had the original version up, you could see that, okay, this person made it to 7 uploads or something. And then they put out an announcement and said, hey guys, I'm super excited to share that I'm going to become a Webtoon original. And then that would be like in 2019.
Yeah.
And then it would be announced that it was being greenlit in 2022.
2020. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's 3 years of development for that comic.
No, it was 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years of development for that comic. Yeah. Right?
And that was definitely a pattern that we noticed where it's like, even the stuff that was being greenlit in 2022 that was coming out, it was a significantly diminished number from 2021 and 2020. And even then, the stuff that was coming out in 2022, you look at the Canvas entry for that comic, and like they'd been picked up in 2020.
Yeah.
You know, like 2 years ago they were picked up, and it's taken them 2 years to get a launch date.
Yeah.
So from that we concluded that, okay, so not only are they being extremely opaque with what they even want to see from us, and like not giving us any lift in terms of giving us an offer or even having somebody talk to us about potentially getting an offer.
Yeah.
They also seem to have a problem where it looks like they went on a hiring spree, especially in 2020 during the pandemic. Readership like skyrocketed, and then in 2023, as like restrictions are loosening, it seems like the readership on the app has not been constantly maintained since when it blew up during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they've signed on like hundreds of new series, expecting for pandemic readership to stay constant. When in reality, it's like, it's not. And it's the same thing with streaming.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it's the same thing that happened with Netflix. They canned their animation department.
Yeah.
And it's the same, it's even the same thing with Disney. Disney Plus, they were riding the high of everybody being trapped inside and having to watch Disney Plus in the background while they were working.
God. Does anyone have Disney Plus anymore?
Yeah. And everybody's like, okay, you know, these Avengers shows are getting kind of boring.
Yeah.
And they're like, saying, hey, Owen Wilson, anybody? Owen Wilson? No.
Yeah.
No Owen Wilson for me. And they actually said that they're going to have to cancel some of the stuff that they have in the extended lineups. So.
Yeah, because it's like the whole content thing, like there was a huge content boom during the pandemic, but that was masking the fact that I think like streaming and then Webtoons like have some serious underlying assumptions that don't really check out in terms of profitability, long-term profitability.
Sustainability problems. Yeah.
So we noticed that there's a huge backlog of comics that had been optioned in 2020, 2021 that were coming out in 2022, and it just seemed like because they'd signed on so many series, and a lot of these series are being released and getting no lift from the marketing department, they would bring out a series, they'd already paid the creator, because they pay the creator per episode produced, not per episode released.
No.
They'd been paying the creator for 1-2 years while they built up a buffer, and then they released the series that it's like fart noise. No one cares.
Nobody cares.
So a lot of the new series that have been coming out, like, Webtoons already paid the creator for an entire year. You know, a sum of like $40,000 per series at the minimum, $40,000 per series. And these series are not turning any profit. In fact, they're all money losers.
Yeah.
Basically, that's been going on for the last year or so.
Yeah.
At least 2 years. And anecdotally, again, there's not a lot of data surrounding this, but anecdotally, we've both seen and felt like Webtoon interest and readership has dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the Webtoon subreddit, it's like dead.
It's full of self-promotion.
Yeah, it's full of self-promotion. But, like, even, like, Lore Olympus, and we all know Lore Olympus is, like, falling off a cliff, but, like, the number of people checking in and liking week to week is nothing.
Yeah, the discussion is gone. There's no discussion about it. And that's, like, even, like, a lot of the top series don't even have their own subreddits where people discuss
They're,
them.
like, you know what, it feels like they're all, like, zombie series.
Yeah.
Like, there's not really anybody discussing them. There's not a lot of people, like, you know, liking, commenting, whatever. The engagement just seems really low. So that's anecdotal, the drop in readership, and then we've seen that they've been launching these series to, like, you know, nothing views, they all tank.
Yeah.
So all that to say that if you're launching a series in 2022, 2023, you know, don't expect to get picked up anytime soon. It doesn't matter what the quality of your series is. If it's popular, I would say try to monetize your audience yourself.
Yeah.
With like a Patreon or like using the tipping system or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't expect to make any money from the ad revenue. And then even the tipping system, they take from that. They take like 50% or something.
They
like
do,
that.
and I would say some of the most successful Canvas creators on Webtoon Canvas, they make tons of money on Patreon.
Yeah.
They make so much money on Patreon. It's like they would never have to work for Webtoon ever. And they maintain all the ownership of their intellectual property.
Yeah.
And it's like the amount of money that some of these people make. And they're talented artists.
Yeah.
But they could, I don't want to say get away with, but they could afford, right? That's a better way to put it. They could afford to put out a longer chapter at a more leisurely pace because they don't have any sort of deadline to follow.
Right.
And then they put out bonus art and everything, and they're still making way more than some of the Webtoon
But
originals.
have you noticed that the series that make a lot of money on Patreon, is it the same kind of thing where they're all older series?
Well, no. I mean, I will say that I've noticed that the ones that are making a lot of money on Patreon, it's because they're very...
Lowest common denominator.
Yeah, it's like they give you the stuff you want to see, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they have that NSFW stuff behind a paywall, and that can
Right.
be like annoying for some people who don't want to do that stuff. I don't want to do
don't
that
wanna do
stuff.
NSFW
Like,
stuff.
please, no.
Yeah.
I'm not that good at anatomy. It's gonna look horrible. Don't
Well,
do
the
this.
thing is, like, that's the sad thing. It's like, if you want to make a webtoon with, like, a story focus, you're gonna have to be a webtoon original.
Yeah.
But as a webtoon original, like, there's the chances of getting picked up in 2023 are so low compared to what they used to be, and the standards are so much higher. And even then, like, Webtoon is losing money hand over fist, so they're just trying to take as much money away from you as possible.
They are, because they're probably too many pies, right?
No, I think what it is like their whole strategy is kind of like a VC.
Yeah.
Where they know that if they seed like 1,000 startups, 999 of those startups are going to be failures.
Yeah.
But the 1 out of 999 is going to be a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
Like $1 billion startup. So I think that's the approach to Webtoons, where it's like the majority of the Webtoons that they sign up are going to fail, but they're going to pay such low amounts for the comic. They only pay like $800 per episode produced.
Yeah, minimum.
Without being like released onto the app. It's like the number of episodes you finish.
Yeah.
You get paid per episode.
Yeah.
I think the lowest amount for that per episode is $800.
Which comes out to less than minimum wage if you break
if
it
you
down
if it's
hourly.
90 hours a week, it is less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
So they know that for the majority of those comics, even though they're paying less than minimum wage, they're going to lose money on those. And then for the one comic that does really well, it's going to be your Lore Olympus.
Yeah.
And I think that's the model that they anticipated, but I think they're having problems with monetizing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lore Olympus, it's got like over $1.2 billion. They're selling print, or not $1.2 billion. It's got over 1.2 billion views.
Yeah.
And they're selling print copies of it now. There was a deal signed with Netflix to adapt it to an animated show that hasn't come out yet. And I think they're just having a lot of difficulty in America translating a successful IP on the platform to something monetizable on streaming. I think that was their intended plan, and they were having very hard times executing it.
Yeah, either on streaming or like for live action, like they had with a couple of Korean series, or for like an animation deal with Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Like I think they did Tower of
Tower
God
of God
with Crunchyroll, and then
Lookism.
Lookism, and then Noblesse as well.
Yeah.
Or Noblesse.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, and they're just not hitting those targets, especially because a lot of the creators, the non-Korean creators from around the world, right? A lot of them have been having difficulty because a lot of the Korean comics are actually produced by studios.
Yeah, they're not produced by individual creators.
Yeah, or the individual creators are like industry professionals who studied like webcomics, and they have like this software that's amazing.
I've noticed that they all use software.
Yeah.
They all use proprietary in-house software for backgrounds.
And models. Like
And
models.
character models.
Like,
but it's not obvious because it's like proprietary for the studio.
Yeah.
So it's almost like an animation model.
Right, like Viral Hit. Some of you guys mentioned Viral Hit in the comments
It's
of our last
100%
video.
CG.
Yeah, like I like Viral Hit. I read it. I thought it was good. I thought it was really intriguing. And I thought the art was phenomenal, but you pointed out, dude, these are all computer generated models. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right.
You were like, how is it so consistent? I could never do that. I'm like, no, you can't because it's CG.
Yeah, so like how do you even compete with that, right? As like a person who has no access to that technology.
Unholy Blood came up in the comments too. Unholy Blood is like 99% CG.
Yeah, it also uses computer generated models. And it's like there's nothing wrong with that because like I for one don't think there's anything wrong with computer generation in anime or in webtoons because of the deadlines and the schedule and the demands of the industry. You want it to be in full color, you want it to look great, and you got a deadline.
And the Korean comics, they're producing like 200 panels per episode.
Yeah, like
there's no way a human being could do that.
No. So I have no problem with the fact that they use CGI. It's just not something you can compete with as somebody who doesn't.
No, as an
have it,
American
so.
creator, there's a lot of people on Reddit who talk about the distinct gulf in quality between Korean and American.
Yeah.
And I could boil that down to like three reasons.
Yeah.
So the first reason, as we just mentioned, is like production shortcuts with CGI.
Yeah.
The second reason is that the industry is so mature in Korea and Japan that they have like production studios who literally hire artists just to give them a comic to work on.
Yeah.
Like me and her are like two scrubs, like doing this by ourselves. We don't work for anyone.
We don't even have any formal training.
We don't even have any formal training, but in Korea and Japan, there are people who go to art school, graduate, work for one of these studios, and they just generate comics like production mills. You know, it's mass-produced comics.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, these comics, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the majority of Korean comics, in my experience, in the webcomic industry specifically, they follow a very, very, like, templatized kind of format for the story. So they go with industry trends. They go like, what's popular? Isekai. So what are we going to make? We're going to make isekai because if we, like, the best way to make profit in Webtoons is to shrink the number of failed comics from 999 with one successful one to as low as possible. You want as many successful comics as possible. So you just copy what's already been successful.
Yeah.
They won't take risks when it comes to, like, storytelling. I think the only one that's, like, risk-taking was Tower of God.
Yeah.
And that's because it was, like, started in 2016, and SIU was a complete noob. He wasn't an industry vet. He didn't have, like, art school background. He just started posting on the website, and it got absurdly popular because of how intriguing his premise is.
Yeah.
But, like, the majority of Korean webtoons are basically engineered to be as popular as possible. It's a lot like K-pop.
Yeah.
As a webtoon original, and especially an American creator, your chances of getting picked up are slim. And then when you do get picked up, you're competing with the Korean gods who are putting out 200-300 panels per chapter, and, like, their art is better, the writing is better because it's a team. They usually have editors who are, like, very involved in the writing, and their comics are very popular because they follow, like, a template of what's already been popular.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. And then the third thing I was going to say about Webtoon originals, as we mentioned earlier, is that the pay scale is crap.
It's not
The pay scale is terrible.
No, for the quality of work they expect and the deadlines and the fact that you need to have assistants to
You either
keep
need to
up.
have assistants or you need to have a very simple art style or
Yeah.
you need to, like, take shortcuts like Blender or something.
Yeah. And you have to hire your assistants out of pocket. On originals, sometimes they put the established series behind a paywall called a daily pass, where you can read one episode a day, and if you want to read more than one episode a day, you got to get coins, which is the currency of the realm, and you have to unlock the next episode. You have to pay real cash for that. And then they have other series that have Fast Pass, and Fast Pass is basically enabling you to read the buffer of the creator. And so a lot of creators have mentioned on Twitter that Webtoon will not tell them like if they're meeting their goals with the Fast Pass revenue that they're supposed to generate in order to get a guaranteed next season, or in order to meet, because I think the terms of the contract say that you have to meet a certain number of views and you have to meet a certain number of Fast Pass revenue in order to reach the threshold of getting more money or getting an extended contract.
The way it works is that for Fast Pass, which is an additional source of income for creators apart from, like, the $800 per episode floor.
Yeah.
Fast Pass is another source of revenue along with ad revenue, but ad revenue is peanuts.
Yeah.
But Fast Pass, like, they only pay out your Fast Pass revenue if you meet a certain threshold.
That's right. And they never tell you how close you are.
And they never tell you how close they are. And the threshold, you know what the threshold is for the Fast Pass?
It's like an absurdly high amount of money.
No,
right?
it's the money that they paid the artist.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's it. So if they paid you $40,000 for your series, for like a
you
first
have to
season,
make all that money back in Fast Pass before
Yeah.
you start seeing a dime, and you only get 50% of it.
Yeah, so it's like if you were paid $40,000 and then you hit $40,000 for your Fast Pass, then from the amount onwards that you make, you get 50% of it.
Yeah.
So you'd have to make $60,000 in Fast Pass to get 10 grand, basically. Is what
Pretty
you're
much.
saying. Yeah, that's.
And then, like, that's one thing, and I guess it makes sense because Webtoon wants to decrease the amount of unprofitable comics they have.
Yeah.
And a lot of these comics make nothing in Fast Pass. Like, especially in America, the levels to which the average American or the average English site user spends on Fast Pass and coins is much lower than it is in Korea and Japan. So there's the streaming exit strategy that's much more developed in Korea and Japan.
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that the average, like, per user generates so much more revenue. It's like twice as high, at least, in Korea and Japan. Those platforms are profitable. The American platform is not profitable because they haven't gotten a single American series streaming.
No.
Not a single one. All of the ones that have made it to streaming adaptations have been Korean.
I think the only one that has made it to streaming from Webtoon it might be the 4 of them, but it went to some. It wasn't like a big streaming service. It was like Oxygen or something like that. Let me look that up really quick. I don't know. Like I can't find it anywhere to watch. It's like on a very obscure streaming service that isn't even that big. And then the other one, which isn't even a Webtoon original, is Heartstopper.
Heartstopper, but Heartstopper was also published independently.
Yeah.
Because the creator of Heartstopper, unlike the creators of Webtoon, retained all the rights to IP and distribution.
Yeah.
She was making a killing on Patreon, I believe, and then she published her own comic herself. And then she made a ton of money through book sales. And then she made even more money by getting her book sales. Because of the book sales, it got adapted into a streaming show on Netflix.
Yeah, good for her.
So that's the only US, like non-Korean creator of Webtoon who's ever gotten to streaming. I know Manji, I think Manji was optioned. I know Rachel was optioned, but her series has been in development hell for like years now. And I don't know if it'll ever get made because of how much crap. I think they just looked at the performance and the popularity and they signed it up. They gave her a $100,000 check, and then they actually read it, and they were like, "Oh God, I wish I could take this back.
What have I done?
It's so bad.
You want us to make this for kids, right? Like,
I mean, it was gonna be animated, and like the animation style looks like Steven Universe, but then there's like friggin' Quack in it.
Yeah, I mean, like at the time we're filming this, you've already had that Velma show by Mindy Kaling hit HBO Max, and everybody's trashing it because it's trying to be like adult animation and stuff, but the tone is apparently all over the place.
The Netflix entire animation team has been shuttered.
Yeah, so I don't even know how much longer the adult animation thing is gonna be trendy for, so... And
the adult animation that's come out in America and taken seriously is like so different from the type of stuff that Webtoon is producing.
It's very, very different, yeah.
So I think the avenue for streaming is just very... like it's an even more distant shore that like you're pretty much like you're already shooting for the stars if you want to be a Webtoon original, and then to get a streaming deal on top of that, it's like none of them have gotten streaming deals.
Yeah,
it's extremely difficult to become a Webtoon original. When you become a Webtoon original, you get the shaft when it comes to pay, and then your options for monetization beyond that. You can't publish by yourself because Webtoon contractually forbids you from publishing. They retain complete distribution rights to your comic. So that's why we've seen Lore Olympus get like 3-4 volumes now, but I don't think Let's Play has been published.
In like hard copy?
In hard copy.
It is a physical copy on
Amazon,
it is? It says.
Kickstarted. Yep, she published herself.
Yeah.
And she got sued for it.
Yeah.
So you get basically shafted as a Webtoon original creator. There's no real options for you to get a streaming deal.
It's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. I mean, it's a pie in the sky because none of them have gotten those.
Yeah.
Physical publishing, like the only one that has gotten a physical copy from Webtoon is Lore Olympus.
Yeah.
And then you're competing against Korean creators who can just, because of the industry, they can produce so much more at a much higher quality than the average American creator can.
Yeah, they have the infrastructure for it.
And then like the behind the scenes tea with the Webtoon creators is that I've heard that they play favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see, like, who got the Times Square advertisements? Yeah. Who got the New York City advertisements? Who got the physical published copies? Yeah. You know, who's getting all that special treatment? And who's getting the majority of front page banners with a new episode release? Like, they seem to invest a lot of money into advertising their already successful series. The only other series that I've seen that was new, that got a lot of advertising push, was Everything's Fine.
Yep.
And it seems like, again, with Webtoon, it's like, unless they push your series, nobody reads your series.
No.
Whether it's a Webtoon original or a Canvas series, there's too many Webtoon originals now, with their spending glut, for you to pick one without any, like, advertising for it. So, like, even if you make it to Webtoon original, you're like one in a sea of many. How do you stand out? How do you get people to read your series? How do you make FastPass revenue? Because the number of series that make FastPass revenue, again, it's like 1%. Make tons of FastPass revenue, and then 99% make nothing.
Yeah.
So you're stuck working on this comic 90 hours a day, stuck in a contract, or 90 hours a week, stuck in a contract, getting paid $35,000 a year for 90-hour weeks, no benefits, no health insurance.
No.
You have to pay taxes on that.
And you know, the another thing with the FastPass thing is that sometimes Webtoon will do promotional events for FastPass as well, where they say, oh, if you buy a certain number of coins, or if you read a certain number of chapters for this comic, you'll get a certain number of coins back. And they try to structure their promotions because Webtoon doesn't care about the aggregate number of views. They don't want people to binge the series.
No.
They want individual views, which I think is ridiculous.
It's really stupid because the whole platform is set up for binging, especially in America. Like, maybe in Korea and Japan, commuter culture, it makes sense to check every week.
Yeah.
But in America, with how short the chapters are, like, it's really unsatisfying to read just one chapter every week.
Yeah, and so they'll try to structure these promotional coin events to get people to check in every day. Like, oh, if you check in every day, you'll get a coin. And they only do that for series that they're trying to promote. Like,
and most of those series are already popular.
Yeah, and it becomes...
like True Beauty, Lore Olympus, I Love You. That was what I saw recently.
Yeah.
People complaining about, like, these series have been going on for years. They're already top 10 series. And why are you promoting stuff that's already popular?
Yeah, but the coin thing almost becomes like an MLM scheme
or
something.
It is.
Because they're like, if you spend $7, you'll get $3 back. And it's like, why would I spend $7 for $3? Like, that's so stupid.
You're not gonna get your $3, that's why.
Yeah. Like, there's like a scheme behind this coin. Like, the coin thing has never made sense to me.
And the reason they use coins is to distract you from the fact that you're spending real money.
Exactly.
It's like Gaia Gold.
It's Gaia Gold. Voldemort banning anybody who said his real name with those horrible random item generators. Yeah, so...
And they recently pushed up the coin requirements, too, for Lore Olympus. It used to be, like, 5 coins, now it's, like, 7.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, because they want to make more money.
It's wringing out the cash cow.
Yeah, exactly. I also noticed that, you know, like, we're talking about the difference between Korean comics and then comics created by people all around the world. Because of the maturity of the industry, a lot of the comics that people were recommending, again, viral hit, I read it, it's good. Unholy Blood, I read it, it's good. I like Carnaby Kim's work as well. It's quite good in terms of the writing. It's perfect format for, like, Webtoon, right? And then Get Schooled, right? I read Get Schooled, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I read it a while back. I read, like, the first arc with the first school, and it's so satisfying to read, and it fits the format perfectly. Ghost King we talk about, they know how to do action in a vertical scroll format. And these series, the best thing about them is that they already know that the ending is there because these series already came out like a couple years ago in Korea.
Yeah.
And they're completed.
Yeah.
Right? So all Webtoon has to do is pay for the translation.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So they pay a flat fee, like you were saying, to translate these. They keep all that money, and then they also keep all the money from the Fast Pass.
Right.
Because the series are so good that you want to know what happens next. Like, so somebody I know...
Right.
I sent him the link to Home Sweet Home.
Yeah.
It's one of Carnaby Kim's stories that was also adapted into a TV show on Netflix. And he binged all of it, and he fast-passed the entire thing in like one day. He just spent all his time in his room and just read the whole thing. And he's a young guy. He's like 23, right? 23.
Target demographic.
Target demographic, young man, and he just obsessively read the whole thing. And when he was done with it, he's like, it was pretty good. It's no Junji Ito, because that's another one. That's another one that he likes. And he's like, yeah, it's no Junji Ito, but it's pretty good. Like, I liked it. I wanted to know what happened next because it was a compelling read, and I read it, and, you know, support the artist and all that. And so he fulfilled what...
But he didn't support the artist! He paid all that money to Webtoon!
Exactly!
That's the joke!
Support the artist and all that, right? So, yeah, I mean, just in the future, like you were saying off camera a little bit there, they're probably just going to go towards that.
I think the whole point about the Korean comics is that not only are they, like, technically better because of all of the stuff we mentioned about the infrastructure, when it comes to the Korean comics, unlike the American comics where they have to pay the artist $800 an episode for a year while they produce the episode and you don't know if the series is going to be popular or not.
No.
They just take the series that was already popular in Korea and Japan, poured it over to America, pay a translator X amount of dollars, which is probably equivalent to the amount of money that they would pay an American creator to produce the series.
Yeah.
They pay the translator that amount of money. The creator doesn't see any money that gets generated in America, and you know it's going to be popular because it was already popular in Korea and Japan.
Exactly, it's tried and true.
And then all of that Fast Pass money for a series that's already been created, that goes straight to Webtoon. So I think, like, if you compare, like, the long-term trajectory of the industry, because of the, like, they're having a lot of trouble generating that revenue per user in America. They're having a lot of trouble connecting to streaming. It just makes the most sense from a cost perspective to bring in these already successful comics, just pay for the translation.
Yeah, it doesn't look too good from the perspective of somebody.
Yeah, I mean, the conclusion of this video is that it's like pretty sucky.
It's a dismal existence.
Webtoon sucks.
Yeah, like, you go
We should just title this video Webtoon Sucks.
Yeah, really clickbaity.
Webtoon sucks. 2023, Webtoon sucks.
Yeah, Webtoon is not the way to go. I mean, there's lots of people who are very talented artists and writers.
I think if you're planning on producing like a romance that's like lowest common denominator and you're planning on doing like NSFW stuff on Patreon,
Yeah.
you could potentially monetize really well using Webtoon as like your advertising platform.
Yeah.
Like 90% censorship bars or whatever.
And if you want to see the uncensored version, go to my Patreon.
Yeah,
And
you could potentially do really well in Webtoon, but if you want to do like the next like freaking, I don't know, Lore Olympus, I think those days are over.
I mean, who wants to do the next?
I mean, but like if
Olympus?
you want to be the next like fantasy romance, like Suitor Armor, for example.
Yeah.
Suitor Armor picked up in 2020. But
Yeah.
I think those days are like the gold rush, the California gold rush, the you know, the app, the period of time where you could just make an app and sell it for 100K.
Yeah.
You know, those days are over for Webtoon.
Yeah.
I think because of the recession and because they're having such a hard time proving a profitability model that works in North America. They've been here for like 10 years now.
Right.
They still can't reach profitability. So I think like the most cost-effective thing, especially with the streaming giants going down,
Yeah.
the most cost-effective thing is just translate the Korean comics.
Yeah. So then,
And now they're also facing competition with Shueisha.
Yeah,
Actually,
Shueisha.
Shonen Jump just launched an app where you can read friggin' Shonen Jump for free, or like pay a small fee to read the digital version. And it's like, if you compare like even the best webtoons, like you compare that to like friggin' Shonen Jump quality art and writing, and it's like, bruh.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Shonen Jump is so good.
They were late to the party by 10 years because all of the Japanese, like the average age in Japan is like 60. And like the whole app was designed by some guy named Takashi, like the UI, and he's like 50. And like he the last time he used a computer like seriously was like in 2005. So the UI is very old school.
It's horrible.
The UI is terrible.
It's so busted.
I mean, they let you publish on there as a creator,
Yeah.
but the UI sucks.
The editorial control
And
is
each
much better.
manga creator has like 4 artists.
Yeah.
Or at least like 2 artists, and it's all black and white, so the art is usually good,
Yeah.
but the story is definitely first because it's like 20 pages a week.
It is, and they dedicate a lot more time. Like, the editorial standards for the storytelling are a lot higher.
Yeah.
Like, Shonen Jump, the storytelling is night and day. You go to Shueisha, and the stuff that they have on there is, like...
That gangster comic, I thought
Yeah.
I was like, dude, a noob is posting this gangster comic? It's so good!
Yeah.
Come to find out, it's actually a paid veteran of like the manga industry.
Yeah.
Who's publishing it under an editor.
But the editorial standards of manga are even higher than the Korean produced
100%
comics.
higher.
Yeah.
They're, like, much higher.
Yeah, so-
Even like Dazzle, like as flawed as it is better than anything that I've seen on Webtoon so far.
Yeah, there hasn't been a single webtoon that I've read from start to finish because I loved it so much, except for the ones that I knew that were short because I'd be able to finish it. The one that I liked that was just funny, it got canceled, so it wrapped up after 50 episodes. And then I'll read Teenage Dragon from time to time because it's hilarious, but it's not something that I'd be like obsessively binging,
Compelled to to read.
like Berserk or One Punch Man or anything like that.
Or Chainsaw Man. I read like the first 25 episodes or 25 chapters in like a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a lot better. Like, I think people's standards are so low, like the audience and then Webtoon themselves, they don't really know what they want.
Well, I think the reason is that most of the people reading Webtoon right now don't really have a big, like, vast repertoire experience with manga.
Yeah.
They don't read manga.
Or just, like, stories in general.
No, but I'm saying, like,
Well-written
especially
stories in
manga.
general. Yeah.
Because, like, that's the one-to-one comparison. Like, you can't really compare a graphic novel to, like, a book.
Yeah.
And I don't think necessarily that there's a big crossover between people who read Webtoons and people who read, like, YA.
No.
But I would say that, like, if the closest equivalent to, like, Webtoon is, like, manga.
Yeah.
And, like, I could tell you, like, Peach Girl is 50 billion times better than Lore Olympus.
Yeah. I mean, some random, like, one-shot mangas I've read are way better than, like, anything on Webtoon.
Yeah. That being said, I think, like, the conclusion of this part is just that, now that, like, Japan is entering the American market, there's even more competition for Webtoon, and Japan, like, Shueisha's letting, like, people publish on their app.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Junji Ito's book, The Liminal Zone, that just came out last year, that was his first ever story that he did for Line Manga.
Yeah.
He did it for the Webtoon equivalent in Japan, and it's like, dude, Junji Ito? Like, yeah, freaking sign me up. I want to read some Junji Ito on the app.
Yeah.
And it's just so much better than anything on Webtoon. It's nothing that I could compete with, obviously, if you've got Junji Ito up there putting out his amazing stories.
Dude, if Chainsaw Man is on the Shueisha app, why would you, like, read the, like, amateur section?
Yeah, why would you read Canvas when you can read Junji Ito and
yeah, why would you
Chainsaw
read
Man?
Canvas when you can read, like, Chainsaw Man and One Piece.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're competing with, especially because Canvas is like dumpster diving.
No, but actually the Shueisha Canvas section is better than the
independent
Webtoon.
Well, maybe it's because the people who make it through, because the Shueisha uploading process, from what you told me, like an IQ test.
No, it's not that. You know what it is? It's the people who post on the Shueisha app.
Yeah.
Have a broad background with manga.
Yeah.
Like I showed you some of the art and some of the comics on the Shueisha Creator app. They're very referential to manga. They're not like Webtoon.
No.
They're not like Webtoons at all. They're even like page format. And
Yeah.
it's black and white, and they have like the sound effects like manga.
Right.
They have a much greater like exposure to Japanese manga. Not Webtoons.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so basically, if you made it to this point in the video, you can probably see that we're like, I'm at least like deflated, because it's like remembering all this stuff. I'm like, what a friggin' waste of time.
Hey, but we wouldn't be able to talk as intelligently about Webtoons if we hadn't done that. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell you why the pacing is off, or composition, or like the grid. I wouldn't have even like known about that stuff until I spent months in the mine shaft at Webtoon.
Hey, I'm the one who introduced the grid to you, buddy, alright?
The grid.
Yeah, the grid. Tron. So, yeah, but I mean, like, could you imagine if one of those series did get picked up, instead of making videos, we'd be like friggin' stooped over on a desk like this, like just drawing right now, like probably picked up a smoking habit or something.
No, and then they, at the end of every month, they'd be like, oh yeah, so about that FastPass revenue, and they'd be like, oh, well, you're doing great.
Yeah.
We're not gonna tell you how many FastPass you picked up.
Yeah, I would be like so gaunt and like a shuffling corpse.
It'd be even more frustrating, because
Yeah.
it was frustrating posting with no lift.
Yeah.
It'd be even more frustrating to be paid like $35K a year. Pre-tax.
Yeah,
And
that's...
with inflation at 15%, you look at the inflation numbers every day and be like, wee!
You'd be like, no. Yeah, that's basically taking a massive pay cut. I wouldn't recommend anybody does it. Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket and like ditch everything just to pursue like a web comic or anything like that. I'd say if you want to do a web comic, don't focus on appealing to Webtoon and trying to get in their good graces and get noticed by them to get picked up, to get promoted.
They suck.
Yeah, they're not gonna tell you.
It's like signing
anything.
a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
It's like you thought you were doing something. It's like working for like Goldman Sachs or something.
Yeah, with
like
an
a lot of
investment
people want to
banking
do like investment banking or consulting. That's like the star. That's like the dream for them. And then once they actually get there, they're like, oh god, I made a mistake. Or like working for Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, like their horrible work culture. You know, like everyone's like, oh yeah, working for Amazon, that's the dream. And then once they actually get it, they're like, wow, this was an effing mistake.
Yeah, so
it's the same thing with Webtoon. It's like there's a lot of glamorization of it, but the truth of the matter of what's actually going on behind the scenes, and this is intentional, by the way, they do a lot of shady stuff to get posts taken down and censor people. Yeah. They make you sign NDAs. You can't even talk about your salary.
No.
Which is potentially illegal.
It is. And it's interesting because I remember Exploded Kid we mentioned in, I think, the previous video about either Let's Play or Lore Olympus, where we talked about Exploded Kid talking about her experience with Webtoon on Reddit.
Yeah.
And she said, like, at the time, she was kind of in a desperate situation because she had just gone through, like, a career change or something. Or, like, there was a change in her plans going forward with what her job would be and everything like that. And so she said, I remember vividly, she said that her savings were dwindling. And she was kind of like a starving artist. Yeah. And they promised her, like, hey, kid, you know, like, if you sign on with us, you're going to get all this stuff. You're going to get all these accolades. We're going to pay you. And so...
That's the other thing they do. I think they go out of their way to target kids. Like, the Stray Light Tigers creator?
Yeah.
Dude... She was, like, in high school when she got... I feel like that is so unethical.
Yeah, like...
That is so unethical.
Yeah, Exploded
Kid... A lot of these kids have never even had, like, a real job.
No.
Like, their first jobs.
Yeah, Exploded Kid
This is the first job that they'll ever have. Yeah. And it's, like, a 90-hour week salt mine job.
It's terrible. She said that knowing what she knows now, she wouldn't have signed on, but she didn't really have any options at the time. But the fact that she was able to do a really good job with self-promo and go to conventions and set up booths, make art, make merchandise, and get a Patreon going... is what helped her massively. But she had to do it all herself. You know, Webtoon doesn't help you with that
But that's
stuff.
the thing, like, Webtoon promises that, like, the whole point of signing up with Webtoon versus going it alone as an indie creator is Webtoon says that they'll help you promote yourself.
Yeah.
But then, when you look at who they're actually promoting, it's the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, for the amount, like, the like, bare minimum that they pay you, and the bare minimum that they do for your series, like, our conclusion is basically, like, you could post your stuff on Webtoon, but I would never become a Webtoon original. And if you do post on Webtoon, you should probably, like, with the goal of creating your own audience and, like, getting a Patreon up. But until then, like, I would never quit my job and work full-time on a Webtoon.
No.
I would quit my job and work full-time on YouTube.
Yeah, because it's already working.
It's already paying dividends.
Yeah, it's already paying dividends like 3 months in. Webtoon, after 6 months, wasn't going anywhere. It was just a nebulous void. And as, like, an idea for how to grow your audience, like, I've been on Instagram recently.
Instagram's dying.
It's really bad because it's, like...
It's all ads now.
It's all ads, and then, like, it's really shady how some people are growing their pages so fast. I think, like, a lot of the activity is artificial on Instagram.
It's bots, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, like, fake. And then
Elon Musk needs to acquire Instagram.
Yeah, please, Elon, take Instagram next.
Give me the report of the bot activity.
Elon. Yeah, and then it's the same thing with Twitter to an extent. It's difficult to self-promote yourself on Twitter.
I still don't know how to use Twitter.
No.
I hate Twitter. I hate it so much. Like, the UI sucks.
Yeah.
It's impossible to, like, every time I'm, like, checking out Rachel's Twitter to, like, get the receipts.
Yeah.
I have no idea, like, because she posts a lot on Twitter. I have no idea how to filter through her posts just to see what she posts. Because she reblogs.
Yeah.
Or reposts so much art.
Yeah.
From other people. I was like, I don't care, bro. I just want to see what she posted.
Yeah, you have to go to media at that point to see.
No, media is just the stuff, like, the attachments she posts, but I want to see all of her, like, statuses and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, well,
They don't, like, it's impossible.
Couldn't tell you how to do that.
And every time I click on the bubble to see what the replies are, it always takes me to, like...
Write a comment.
Yeah, no, dude!
Yeah, I don't want to write a comment.
What UI is this?
Yeah. So Twitter's confusing. And then Tumblr, nobody pretty much uses Tumblr anymore.
I think Twitter is really popular for, like, NSFW art.
Yeah. And again, like, if you want to be an NSFW artist, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think anybody uses Tumblr that much anymore for art. And I remember the only thing I used Tumblr for was to, like, check on K-pop groups.
Fandoms.
Yeah, like fandoms. Like, that's how I found out, like, Vix lost Hanbin? Like, no! And he's, like, sad and pathetic now.
He's like a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, it's very sad. But, yeah, that's the only thing on Tumblr, I think, is, like, it's like a wasteland now. And then there's TikTok, but again, TikTok, I have no idea how to use TikTok.
We're too boomer for TikTok.
It's like
I tried using
sensory deprivation.
I tried
right?
spending a day on TikTok to, like, infiltrate the Zoomer space and figure out how it worked. And I felt like, you know that scene in Back to the Future 2 where the son is watching, like, 10 TV channels at once? That's what it felt like for me. A. B, I don't want the Chinese government to spy on me, so I definitely don't want it on my phone. And then C, like, the type of content that's on there, like, it's so short. And, like, I don't know if it's because, like, we talk way too much, but I gravitate towards long-form content.
Yeah.
Because I think the longer it is, especially if it's, like, obviously if it's just long and stupid, like, no one cares. But if it's, like, long, but you have a lot to say, it's a lot easier to structure your content to be as, like, informative or insightful or funny as possible. Because we just talk a lot. I wouldn't even know if somebody's like, oh, film a 30-second video. I'd be like, I don't know what I would even say. Like, you can't really say much.
No.
Which is why I think TikTok is full of, like, friggin' body checking and, like, sexually suggestive stuff, because it's like, what can you do to hijack someone's attention in 30 seconds?
Horrible stuff.
It's attention high. It's like the stuff that they use as, like, psychological warfare.
Yeah, like
it's like how do I get someone's attention in 30 seconds with, like, the worst clickbait ad? The type of content that's favored by such a short amount of time is basically shocking content that basically hijacks your attention.
Yeah.
So it's usually, like, anger, disgust, like, a lot of them are, like, rage clickbaity.
More, like, morbid curiosity as well.
Morbid curiosity, but I'm thinking of, like, a lot of the, like, fat activist stuff is, like, playing off of, like, rage, you know, anger and outrage culture.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of, like, sexual content, too.
Yeah.
It's all just stuff that hijacks your attention because of, like, biological deficiencies in the human brain.
Yeah.
It's basically psychological warfare.
Right.
So, but I've seen that, like, drawings and art posts can blow up on TikTok if it gets picked up by the For You page. So you could theoretically build a big audience just by making art TikToks. But I don't know what the scene looks like, and I was, like, too disgusted to continue to learn how to use the app because, again, my For You page is, like, flooded with, like, poop stuff, like, people with, like, mental disabilities stuff, like, basically, like, filming them like they're zoo animals.
Yeah, there's a lot of people...
It was just disgusting, and it's used internationally.
Yeah, so there's people internationally who make money off of, like, showing, like,
shocking content.
Horribly, like, deformed
Exploitative
babies.
stuff.
Yeah, people with, like, really terrible congenital, like, birth defects and stuff, and they make a living off of that.
Or, like, one of them was, like, some guy who looked like he was, like, cooking poop.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why? This is disgusting. Disgusting content.
Pimple popping.
Yeah,
like,
it's
weird.
just disgusting content.
Yeah. So TikTok, I don't know about that. So we went through Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok. Obviously, Facebook is a no-go.
Unless you're making, like, alt-right comics for, like, 60-year-olds.
Yeah. You can get a great audience there.
The Trump-supporting crowd.
Yeah, you can have, like, a Joe Biden betrayal arc.
No, you could have a comic with, like, Trump and Jesus teaming up against Joe Biden.
And you would make so much money.
And Kamala Harris.
Yeah, you'd make a ton of money.
Anime style.
You did a comic about that on Facebook. Oh my gosh. If that's what you want to do, go to Facebook. The Zuck will help you right out.
Take our idea. It's free. It's a free idea for you to use.
It's a great idea, yeah. And so that's a no-go. I mean, honestly, you could always do YouTube long-form content where you post your drawing videos with some royalty-free lo-fi or something.
Yeah,
make
or,
it like a relaxed,
or YouTube shorts.
Yeah, shorts, and then you stream. And then you could even put your webtoon into like a scroll animatic or like a panel-by-panel animatic.
I've seen content like that blowing up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be like a YouTube short, which is like the latest update of this comic, which is like an animatic.
Yeah.
And they're like blowing up and they're like black and white and stuff.
Yeah, and if you get enough success with that, you get the ball rolling. Like we said, you know, with our subscriber count and our view count, you're making like $15 a video.
Yeah.
You could go to Fiverr and hire a couple voice actors to do some of the animatics to get them like higher production value. When you make more money, invest it back into your channel. You won't have to spend any money on like equipment like a camera or anything like that, or like expensive
just screen
editing
recording
software. Yeah, a lot of great screen recording software is free. So yeah, I mean, you could always build an audience on YouTube like that. I would say YouTube is probably the best way to go.
Well, that's just from our experience. Yeah. We tried Instagram. It's kind of dying.
Yeah. The tagging system doesn't work anymore.
No.
You don't get discoverability at all.
No. It's almost like pay to play.
Yeah.
I feel like Instagram is pay to play, and it's infested with ads and bots.
Yeah.
Twitter, I don't know enough about the platform. I don't like it, and a lot of the art, it seems like it's difficult for art to get discovered, and it's like very clicky, Twitter is.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, if you want to launch a comic, keep it as like a hobby, side hustle. Don't expect a lot from it, and I would say you can post it on Webtoon, and you'd probably have a lot of success doing like NSFW stuff. Oh, what I was gonna say is like closing thought. The biggest thing about Webtoons and why I think lowest common denominator is preferred for Webtoons is because the biggest problem here is that there's a lot of content that you're competing against, and from a reader perspective, you're spoiled for choice, and you're spoiled for quality choice, like we were talking about Jump and stuff. And the biggest problem with an unknown artist who's not published before is that you don't know if they're A, going to write a good story in the long term, or B, if they're even going to continue the story after X number of episodes. Like, both of us dropped our comics. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I mean, that's the reason why, like, if you're having trouble with, like, a long-form comic, you want to write the next Naruto, it's going to be very difficult to get people to read it, because it's like, who's going to say that Joe Q Public is going to publish for 15 years like Masashi Kishimoto was?
Yeah, like why would you go read a comic that's updating a week at a time when you could just read Naruto?
Yeah.
Why read the next Naruto if Naruto is already there, right?
And that's the problem. It's like, in order to get people to read your stuff, you really have to stand out and like prove your quality. So you have to hook them with a great premise or great art and have some lowest common denominator stuff sprinkled in the beginning that make people intrigued enough to keep reading. But the lowest common denominator stuff, it doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to tell a great story. It doesn't have to be the next Naruto. It delivers what it was promising.
Right.
So I think that's why lowest common denominator is like preferred, because it's not like a YouTube video which is self-contained. It's a continuing story, and it's the same thing with TV shows.
Yeah.
People get burnt out when there's too many TV shows with continuing stories.
Yeah.
Like, it's a commitment now to start a TV show, and you don't know if it's going to end up good, to the point that I wait until it's finished before I start a TV show.
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee that it's going to be good.
No, I prefer to watch movies because it's a one and done, wrapped up deal.
And that's just the problem. Unless you can prove yourself to be like exceptional in terms of storytelling, art, writing, or you have like the next Attack on Titan with an extremely intriguing premise.
Yeah.
You're competing against people who are like being published in Jump,
right?
Who are already like there's your quality filter right there. If I'm gonna look for quality ongoing stories, I'll read Jump. You know, for Webtoon is for my like fluffy Wattpad fiction type stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of the game.
Yeah.
So unless you can prove your skills as a writer, like we are with these YouTube videos.
Skills.
No one's gonna read your story because they're gonna be like, this who's this clown? And what makes me think that they'll tell a good story?
Yeah, why should I care?
Why should I read this story? Why should I follow their comic for X number of chapters?
And you can see that because, like, there's not really a huge fan base associated with any of these comics. Even the Lore Olympus fan base, like, the Lore Olympus subreddit only has, like,
40,000?
Yeah, a little bit shy of 40,000 subscribers.
For all the millions of subscribers and views, billions of views that Lore Olympus gets, it's only 40,000
Yeah, like,
subs.
There's like 170-something thousand likes on every new episode.
Yeah, now it's like 110,000.
Yeah, and that's like you know, the amount of people who like it enough to discuss about it on the subreddit is less than a third of that, pretty much, right? Adjusting for like averages and stuff like that. So, I mean, it just goes to show you that the people who are reading webtoons on average don't really think too deeply about them.
It's casual content.
It's super casual. It's like they don't think about it more than they think about...
It's like a TikTok video.
Yeah, like something super short form like that. I mean, we're the only two idiots sitting on a sofa and going panel by panel for 2 hours for 5 chapters on Lore Olympus.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about it.
Yeah, no one cares about it that much.
Nobody know. So yeah, that being said, I would say, like, go for independent. Build an audience with your art. Do fan art if you like doing fan art, and then just chisel it out and get your story out, but don't be discouraged if Webtoon doesn't end up working out, because it's not you, it's the fact that
the industry
model is, it's just not there.
It's the industry, it's the glut of content, it's the fact that nobody can tell if you're quality just from a few episodes.
Yeah.
You're competing with lowest common denominator. The whole format is not geared towards long form content consumption. So there's just so much working against the average Webtoon creator in 2023.
Yeah, just keep at it. It's a worthwhile hobby to have. It's always fun to come up with
It's
stories.
it's a fun hobby. It's a fun hobby. And if you're really lucky, you might be able to make some money off of it.
Yeah, so as long as you keep things fresh and fun and it doesn't become like a miserable chore to work on, you're like, not this again. Like, I feel like a lot of Webtoon original creators end up feeling that way about their work.
I'm sure they do, because of the grueling standards. Yeah.
Rachel might. So yeah, I mean, I hope this video was interesting to you guys. I hope you learned a little bit about Webtoon, and I hope if you had any burning questions about it, hopefully this might have answered some of those questions. And yeah, so I guess with that being said, any other additional thoughts before we sign off?
We're thinking of making a follow-up series to this.
Yeah.
Just like going through the technical how-tos of building a Webtoon. And like, just keep in mind that this is just like the advice of 2 schlubs on a sofa.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not successful Webtoon artists.
No.
So, I mean, take everything that we say with a grain of salt. This is just our observations and our opinions.
Yeah, exactly. Observations and opinions. And so, yeah, we'll talk about making a webcomic from start to finish, and then maybe even...
make our own webcomic.
Yeah, make your own webcomic, and we're also definitely still planning to tear apart our own series.
Oh, yeah.
The first attempt.
That's gonna be fun.
It's god-awful. So, yeah, that's it for this video. If you like our content, feel free to subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions or additional thoughts on the subject. Give us a like if you liked this video. And
give us a dislike if you disliked the video.
Obviously, if you dislike the video, if you dislike us, dislike the channel, report us to YouTube.
No, give us a dislike, but don't report us.
Don't report us, I'm sorry. I said that. Yeah, give us a dislike. Take screenshots and make fun of us on the internet. Yeah. Right? And just talk about how stupid we are. But thanks as always for checking it out, and we will see you guys next time. Same sofa, same people, different discussion. Could you imagine having the exact same discussion in different outfits? We won't do that to you guys. It would be impressive if this whole thing was actually scripted and the freeform thing was just a lie. But yeah, we will see you guys next time with that. So, goodbye.